Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 316. And we are back in the garage here. Nate and myself and someone else, not in the garage, but will be joining us tonight. And we're looking forward to catching up with an old friend. And you guys, a lot of you guys that listen know this guest. But before we get him on, there's a lot of bottles on the table that look very similar to each other. It's like one of those like Russian dolls or what
Nesting
is that?
Dolls.
What is it?
Nesting dolls.
Nesting dolls. It's Russian, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, want to thank our sponsors, Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. We are smoking tonight the surprise, if you're looking at us, watching us right now, the Buffalo Trace cigar. If you haven't noticed yet or haven't read the description of this episode, there is a theme tonight. It is Buffalo Trace and all of it.
Yes.
All Buffalo Trace all the time. So thank you, Tinder Box at Easton, for the Buffalo Trace cigars. They do carry this cigar, and it's just one size Toro, and it's available now. So check that out. Or if you have a local shop near you, check them out as well. Altadis USA, we appreciate Maria, Josh, everyone over there. Met the new rep not too long ago for this territory. We got the Monte Cristo Espada Oscuro tonight for part 2. So this is something that Altadis USA has been doing for a while for us, and they have been sponsoring the show, which is just absolutely fantastic. So appreciate that. Monte Cristo Espada Oscuro, that's actually made by Plasencia Cigars for Monte Cristo, working with Rafael from Altadis. So check that out. Available also at Tinder Box at Easton and everywhere. I'm pretty sure there. BS Cigar Company, the gold and silver are available. Just ordered some more gold. New shipment coming in, hopefully in the next couple months here. Silvers are on their way, but they are available now as well. So if you guys have not had the BS Cigar Company gold or silver, gold is made also by Plasencia, and the silver is made by Espinosa Cigars. Fantastic, all Nicaraguan blends. Check those out as well. Appreciate that support. Buyjack.com/bourbon and BS for any of the swag from the show or BS Cigar Company. We have the
same shirt on.
Same shirt. I've got the kind of blacked out one. I don't know what you want to call that. It's harder to read.
It is very difficult to read.
It's you've got the original, the OG there, which is when the world hands you some BS, light it up. So check that out. Buyjack.com/bourbon and BS. There's also some BS Cigar Company shirts on there, 3/4 sleeves. We also have the pour one more, light up another. We'll figure this out together t-shirt for the podcast. So definitely check out buyjack.com/bourbon and BS. Print to order, ship directly to you. And also patreon.com/bourbon and BS podcast. We appreciate the continued support on that. Our guest tonight is one of those Patreon members. So we appreciate his support in more ways than one. So appreciate all you guys out there doing that. If you want to do a one-time contribution, definitely check out and give us on Venmo, Bourbon and BS. So at Bourbon and BS on Venmo. And we appreciate all that support. If you want to tell us how to spend it, especially on Venmo, put it in the notes and we will do our best to oblige, as long as it's not too out of the ordinary.
Yeah, like don't sit there and ask us to do bottles of Pappy that are lottery bottles, because we're not paying $800 to $3,000.
I'll give you
secondary
$20 if you do the podcast facing the other way.
to
like backwards, yeah. Like a dare.
Okay.
We'll entertain them. I'm not going to say we'll do them.
Show my good side then.
There you go. Perfect. All right. Without, obviously, guys, if you have any questions or comments, throw them on the comment feed on Facebook, especially.
Ray said your shirt just looks like you're sweating.
Oh, I'm doing that too. I'm doing that as well. Yeah, absolutely. It is warm. It is balmy in here. What are we looking at? 80 still?
I think it's about 80, 81. And what, over 70% humidity?
Yeah. Yeah, it's warm. Cigars are fine, though.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Welcome back to the show. Jonathan Herring with Myron Dutch. That has a nice ring to it.
Dude, I have to say, you guys are veering into the OnlyFans territory now, out of your Patreon into OnlyFans.
Like I said,
start allowing them to pay you to do things.
We're going to do them.
You guys are getting close.
$20 is $20.
Not always.
It's not always.
Not always.
Good to be back, guys. Good to see you guys.
You look good.
Thank you. I've moved to the Fort Worth area, and it's It's good for my health. I haven't been eating a lot because I've been just trying to figure out what I do at my new job. So like it's probably helping.
Busy.
Yeah, it has been busy.
That's got to be busy. So tell us. So you're with now Meyer and Dutch.
Yeah.
What is Meyer and Dutch? Because I feel like a lot of people know when you were with General Cigars, right? And Forged after that. And now you made a move to Meyer and Dutch. What is Meyer and Dutch?
So the quick synopsis, think of General Cigars, Ford Cigars, and Meyer and Dutch is kind of a three-man team. So General Cigars has its portfolio, Ford Cigars has its portfolio, La Gloria Punch. La Gloria. It's been so long since I sold it. Room 101, Alec Bradley. They got a lot of brands.
Yeah.
General selling Cohiba, CAO, Punch, all those guys. So Meyer and Dutch, we are the wholesale arm. So whereas General and Forge are selling just STG's brands, Scandinavian Tobacco Group, the parent company, we sell everyone's brands. So we sell them to all kinds of stores, from like liquor stores to like small smoke shops to premium cigar lounges. We sell a little bit of everything. So Meyer and Dutch has been around for a long time. I think it was acquired by STG like maybe in the 2000s, and been around a long time. And we're a big part of the cigar market. Sell a lot of cigars. Inside of that too, like we also have our own cigar brands, so that's where it gets a little confusing. We have cigar brands that only we sell, so they're made by STG. So just like General and Forge, we have some of our own brands like the Buffalo Trace cigar, Cafe Con Leche, by Tabac. We have a lot of different cigars that are made for us by different manufacturers that are exclusive to us as well.
Yeah, so
even some exclusive sizes, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of exclusive sizes and like your really popular brands, including like Oliva. V has an exclusive size. Like we have a lot of different exclusive sizes out there that are just us.
Nice. So this is, as you kind of stated, the same parent company, the same family here. You're still with STG Group, just in a different capacity. And what are you doing? I don't know if I missed that, but what are you doing for Meyer and Dutch?
Yeah, so I am the field sales manager. So that means I oversee all the field sales. I've got 4 reps. We just hired a new rep, and he'll be starting soon for us down in Georgia. So we have 4 reps spread kind of around the country. And we have also a team at M&D of inside sales reps. So they kind of all work together to help the customers out. But I'm kind of like managing the field sales reps. I was on the road for a long time as a sales rep. And so they put me in this position to kind of help with bringing in new guys and expanding the growth.
Nice. So you guys have been around for a while doing this, right? And you talked about a little bit of the history there, but I mean, as far as the wholesale side of this, I mean, especially with you guys doing it, I mean, I know it's not new, but I feel like it's expanding.
Yeah, I mean,
more effort behind the whole project here.
Yeah, I think there's so many shops and places that want to sell cigars that cigar reps are not going to go to. Cigar reps are generally going to sit down premium cigar lounges or different places like that. So there's a ton of people that have a really high-end liquor store, a really high-end wine store like Carfagna's, and they want to have a very nice humidor in there, and they would like to get it from a one-stop shop where they don't have to deal with 9 different reps and all the paperwork and all that stuff. So you can go through us, and we have 30,000 plus SKUs that you can pick from. So it makes it a nice, easy one-stop shop for customers.
Yeah.
Yep. It's been very beneficial since I run the humidor now at Carfagna's. Aaron, who's listening from Myrtle Beach right now, he's on vacation. He had set that up, but yeah, I mean, there are a couple brands that I wanted to bring in certain cigars from them, so I went direct in that sense. But yeah, everything else that we get in our humidor is from Meyer and Dutch, because
everything, all of it, not all of it,
except for Espinosa and Crown Heads.
Okay,
everything else. So like a lot of the samplers that I carry, Magneto, Oliva, Monte Cristo, like I get all those through Meyer and Dutch because, like Jonathan said, like, you know, some of these brands I carry maybe 2 facings
Right.
of a sales rep, you know, that's direct with the company is not going to come in and be like, hey, yeah, you want to go direct for, you know, whopping 2 boxes.
He also said, Aaron corrected you, BS Cigar Company.
Oh, and BS. Yeah, we get those.
Thank you, Aaron. That's very nice to have someone very well informed. You just gave me a thumbs down on there somehow.
No, I pointed at you like that. So
Yeah, I think it was
whatever.
It doesn't work on mine.
No, it doesn't.
But yeah, no, Jonathan's right. Like, there's not a whole lot of reps that are going to come into a store like Carfagna's that has a decent selection, but I mean, it's just a cabinet humidor, you know, because it's the amount of time they would spend there, they're not going to get a whole lot of sales out of it.
No. So what I've noticed also, and I'm not going to name drop here, but Jonathan and I have talked about this, and it's interesting. I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but where you guys come into play, that's actually kind of nice. And what we're seeing, I'll just say it from my vantage point. I'm not going to speak for anyone else or any company here, but what I'm noticing from where we're at right now, and I hate to say post-COVID, but because I saw it kind of going that way before that, and then the companies realized that they had to, I feel as though, treat their accounts in a manner that was, hey, you guys have been with us throughout all this. Now that we're going through tough times together, we're going to be with you and have your back. We've talked about on the show before about keeping your best practices, especially from the down times like 2020, 2021. I've noticed that there are certain companies, not necessarily the big boys, but I mean, definitely some that are kind of in that kind of small to medium size manufacturers, or at least companies that for whatever reason they're scrambling right now. They're trying to figure out what they want to do with their sales force. Now some of them are saying, well, you have to order a certain way. You know, you can't just order what you've been ordering, even though, say, you're way over what they normally have for the, I guess, bottom line as far as how you can open an account with them dollar-wise. But now they're forcing things on you that you have to order this many sizes of these blends to continue to carry us, which I can understand a little bit if you're a smaller company and they say they do sell to Meyer and Dutch. You don't have to necessarily, when you open a new account, that they want you to do a buy-in. It's like, well, I want to dip my toe in it. That's where you guys come in, right? But when it comes to some of these companies out there that are, you've been doing business with them for 10, 20 plus years, and all of a sudden they're like, you got to buy differently from us because these sizes, basically you're saying these sizes aren't selling and we need to force them on you. And that's where Meyer and Dutch comes in, or a wholesale like that comes in. It's like, that's fine. If there's no loyalty from the manufacturer side to say, because of after all these years, you still want to carry the stuff, but you don't want to, like, there's only so much shelf space. You have an alternative with a company like yours. And this is all fairly new, I guess, for me, that I'm seeing a lot more of. I mean, you're even seeing some companies now doing what like small mom and pop restaurants are doing, where they're like, hey, we're going to now have to charge you if you want to pay by your credit card, which we get immediate payment for. We're going to add a 3% surcharge on there to run a fucking credit card. Like, these guys are running it like they are losing money left and right, and they can't. It's just, that's my little soapbox. But I think there's a different purpose right now for companies like yours, as far as Meyer and Dutch and the wholesale side, because even if you are able, you're big enough to order from a manufacturer directly, or had been. As soon as some creative mind comes in there and says, you know what we could do to make more money? Force them to buy different stuff. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
So
why did we think of that?
One thing I want to, like, in defense of the cigar companies here that have the reps out on the streets, like, I talked to a national sales manager today, and they just raised their hotel budget for their guys by 33%. So that's what they had to do for their reps to even be able to stay in hotels right now. So with like the inflation of like paying reps to go on the road with food and like gas and hotels, and I think they're having to, and this is just my opinion, but I think they're having to start to pick and choose a lot harder where the reps are spending their time. And I think they would rather have fewer number of counts with a lot of facings that are really, flagships of that brand. And they would like a company like Meyer and Dutch to sell to the rest of the people, and it cuts down on their overhead. They actually make more money on it, and then they get to focus on the accounts that are like really those strong accounts. Now, I understand exactly what you're saying, Steve. That would annoy me. I've been a customer for 15 years, and now you're being told, oh, I got to do this, this, and this to stay in the line. But I think it's a lot of cost cutting that's going on out there.
I think it's putting the reps, and I'm sorry to stay on this point, but I mean, I think it's, and this is not anything against you guys. I mean, you're obviously filling a void here. I think it's basically putting a lot of reps in danger at this point. And you're going away from the model of you want to get in front of people, go to brick and mortars. I think the people that are making these decisions have not been in many or enough cigar shops and lounges that function differently. And I think they're making these decisions behind a desk or at least a conference table. And I think that it's something that when it gets down to it, if you don't go to a trade show once a year or whatever it is, how are you going to know what new stuff is?
Yeah.
How are you going to know that stuff? So that's where it's like,
right.
I guess you're right. They're picking and choosing and all that stuff. And on paper, it makes sense. But when it comes down to this business where it is an old fashioned, in my opinion, a very traditional type of an industry where it's a traveling salesperson type thing. And the irony to me is you have traveling salespeople now. So who's learning what here, in my opinion? And that's what I'll say.
Steve, I think you're exactly right. And to not get too into it, I think
I'm not trying to attack any particular company.
What I'm saying is I think we're kind of merging it a little bit. So with us, you're going to still have a rep. You're still going to have the rep might not be in such a small territory that you see him quite as much, but you can still have that personal relationship. And he's not only your, Perdomo rep, but he's your Dunbarton rep, and he's your Rocky Patel rep, and he's your Padron rep. Like he's selling you all these things.
Not Padron.
And well, yeah,
they don't have reps anyway, so
yeah, but we do, and we have Padron. So
there you go.
So I think, I think we're kind of merging that a little bit, and it's kind of a little bit of a hybrid. But we want to have reps in all the major markets, eventually, and we are getting pretty close. And I think it's exciting, man. It's exciting to be on the side of it.
It's got to be.
I'm the only guy that's worked for General, Forged, and M&D, so I've kind of seen all three arms of it, and it's been fun at both of those, and M&D has been really exciting because it's so different and it's so new.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that, I'll give you guys kudos and yourself. I mean, I think you're seeing that shift right now. And for example, it's almost ironic when you try to order something from an account that you still have standing with, right? And they are on back order, and then you go on to Meyer and Dutch, and it's like, well, maybe you wouldn't have been on back order if you didn't sell it all to Meyer and Dutch because they got a shit ton of it. It's almost crazy. I don't know.
We're a guaranteed sell. Once we buy it from them, they've sold it. So
I tell you, I know. It's like they're making that big nut, and it's like, oh, that's cool. But I don't know. Just kind of around and around we can go with that. But it's very, very interesting to me that the face-to-face interactions from certain manufacturers, they're basically hiring you guys to do that for them, which to me is a little scary, because if it were me, if I, be a cigar company, yeah, I can sell it to you. I make that big sale, but it's like, what is it like to Danny, like our rep here in this area? Why is he going to, of the hundreds, if not thousands of SKUs, push my brand? Right. So I make that one big sale, then it's kind of like, okay, who wants more? It's like, no, we're still good. We're still good over here. It's like, oh, you don't need more? It's like, no, we haven't sold it all yet.
And that's a big part of my job is, so like today I probably talked to 4 different manufacturers, like heads of, either national sales managers or higher up guys at the companies. And my job is for us to figure out what we want to make, our flagship products that we know turn in every store. So if we walk into a store and they don't know what they should carry, we can say, look at this list. This is guaranteed sales. Like this thing sells every time. And then we will walk into a store like yours, Steve. We can walk in and say, this is the little areas in which we can help you out. And these are some little corners we cut. So it's very different for both. But part of the manufacturer's job working with us is like training our sales reps, sending them, cigars and swag to do events and stuff. So like I'm like kind of the liaison between our field sales reps and our manufacturers. So we have a training coming up with Aladino at the end of next week.
Sure.
All my guys are super excited about it because we're all cigar nerds and we love their cigars. And we got a couple coming up in the next few months. So that's a big part of what I do.
Nice. No, I think, like I said, you guys are definitely growing and filling a niche that's definitely needed. And I think it's, like I said, what's interesting to me is going from, say, a shop like Nate at Carfagna's, where it is a smaller humidor, and that was kind of like, in general, you just do the one-stop shop from a wholesaler. And now I feel as though it's evolving to a point where you are truly repping brands. So we'll see. Yeah, like I said, I'm not taking anything away from you or the manufacturers. It's just an interesting, I guess, conversation to have with the way things are going. And you bring up some good points with, it costs more to do everything now.
Yeah.
The hotel, the travel, the everything else, you know what I mean? The miles on the car, everything, gas is up, everything is up. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Before we continue down talking about how the world is changing, the Buffalo Trace cigar here. This is my first one I'm smoking. First one I ever smoked. Nate, have you smoked this?
I've smoked one when Danny was in Carfagna's a few weeks ago. He gave me a couple sticks, and this was one of them. The Buffalo Trace portfolio, so like carried the Robusto, the Toro. When those were out of stock, I brought in the Cigarillos during the wintertime.
Yeah.
For people that just need like that 10, 20-minute smoke outside. The Special F that they had last year, like that portfolio was our biggest seller all of last year.
Buffalo Trace.
In terms of number of sticks sold, that was our best seller.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been our best seller. I mean, like I said, we have 30,000 SKUs, and 2 of our top 10 sellers are Buffalo Trace sizes. And that's with last year having an incredible amount of back orders. This year, we're all caught up. We're good for the rest of the year. But that's pretty wild stat to me that with 30,000 SKUs, carrying everything, carrying all the General, all the Forged, all the, My Father, everything like that, these 2 of these cigars would be top 10 sellers.
So what is this cigar? What do we know about it?
So we made it at STG.
Yeah.
3 different sizes: Robusto, Toro, Churchill. The goal with this cigar was to make a cigar that just pairs well with bourbon. The idea was it's going to have give and take to it. It's going to have enough to keep up with the bourbon. The bourbon's not going to overpower it. It's not going to overpower the bourbon. To me, it's a straight medium bodied. It's got, some interesting like high notes to me. Like it's not a super over the top rich chocolatey cigar, which to me sometimes doesn't always pair well with like the bourbon. Sometimes they don't mesh well together. So to me, it keeps kind of at a high level in your taste buds that doesn't conflict so much with the bourbon. I tried it for a bit without the bourbon and with the bourbon, and it was quite nice together.
Yeah.
But it has an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, and then a Brazilian Arapiaca binder, and it does have long filler tobacco, obviously in the filler. It's all Nicaraguan, Dominican long filler tobacco, and that is barrel aged tobacco in the filler.
All of it or just some of it? Because a lot of times it's like one leaf, or do you guys disclose that?
We don't disclose it. It's just like some of the filler tobacco is barrel aged. And the Special F you mentioned earlier, that was a limited edition Buffalo Trace we did that sold like crazy, and everybody's asking for it all the time. And I hope we do it again, but I don't have that kind of power. But
not yet.
It was actually, the binder was actually aged in Buffalo Trace bourbon barrels 3 to 6 months.
Was it the Brazilian wrapper, or was it a different blend?
It was the Brazilian wrapper, I believe.
Yeah. I like the marketing. Obviously, you got the Buffalo Trace, very, very reminiscent of the kind of
the bottle.
Well, the bottle, but the way that they do their the label on there, you guys can kind of see it. It's almost like a torn, like they tore off and they like left that middle part. Yeah, strip of paper, and you kind of mimic that a little bit here. That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, that Special F was a 660 Figurado. So it had a torpedo tip, and it was a 60 ring.
Okay.
To Oh, go
I
ahead.
was gonna put Ray up there. Hang on.
It came in a 10 count. Oh,
go ahead. No.
it came in a 10 count box instead of 20.
Yeah.
But yeah. So for us at Carfagna's, one of the reasons why I think this cigar sold so well is because we're a liquor store.
Yeah.
People come in and they're getting liquor and like, oh, cigars. Like I sometimes describe it as the chewing gum next to the cash register. Like people see it, it's almost like an impulse. But I've had numerous customers where they've come in like, hey, you guys got Buffalo Trace? And I was like, I got the cigars. And all of a sudden that intrigues them. Like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah. Let me try a couple. Want the box. So they sit there, because it says Buffalo Trace. It has the logo right on it. And they're like, how can I get that box? And I go, buy all the cigars that are in that box currently. You can have it.
Yeah. Give it to you for free with purchase of the rest that are in there.
It's the same though. You don't have to push those cigars on people. They just sell.
Ray Cheshire says, so it's flavored.
So it is not a flavored cigar. It is barrel aged. So there's no bourbon in the barrel other than what's in the wood. So it's just the tobacco is put in a barrel, aged in the barrel. It does take up some of that, oakiness, I guess, in the whiskey, but it is not a flavored cigar in that there's no flavor added to it. There's nothing added. There's no sweet glue on the end or anything like that. And It's not the same, Ray. There's definitions for things.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah, he says, same. No, actually.
You have the diesel whiskey roasting, which is the same concept where some of the tobacco sits in a barrel. But then Perdomo's been doing that for 20 years.
Yeah.
But they were doing it before it became a popular thing to put like barrel aged on it.
Yeah.
They would barrel age some of the tobaccos in their cigars, and ironically, it was Buffalo Trace barrels. But that's why several years ago, Perdomo then started rebranding some of their boxes to say barrel age, and especially on the Habano line, they started actually adding that because other companies were putting it on there and like, oh, look what we're doing. Perdomo's like, yeah, that's nothing new. We've been doing that. So
I honestly think it's been done in the cigar business a long time without people knowing it. People didn't even say that they did it. I think it's a way to just impart. It's a way to mellow the tobacco a little bit and add some sweetness to it, especially in filler and binder. It's really nice, and it takes it down a pop. There's nothing crazy about that one.
There's not. It's just it became popular, right? He says it's just like those awful things that used to be behind the counter at Tinder Box, the Maker's Mark things. Different, very different. So this is interesting, I will say, and to Ray's point, I mean, this is not flavored. I mean, again, this is something, to Jonathan's point, has been happening for a long, long time. And you specifically called out a company that does it with Buffalo Trace. They've been on the show. Nick was on here a while back, and he explained that to us. So it's a technique. It just, before the bourbon boom, you didn't need to tell anyone that. There's no point, because that would actually turn a lot of people off if you said, no, I'm actually aging some of the tobacco in this cigar blend in bourbon barrels. They're like, no, pass. I don't want anything to like Ray's saying, I don't want anything flavored. And you're like, no, it's not flavored. But now that bourbon is so incredibly popular, it's a technique.
Well, and it kind of mirrors
advertised.
It kind of mirrors bourbon in a sense too. Like if you see a bourbon and it says finished in port barrels,
right?
That's not a flavored whiskey, because anytime you add coloring or flavor to bourbon, it becomes a whiskey. It's no longer a bourbon. Finishing it in a barrel is not adding flavor to it. It's just a second barrel that it's being aged in. So it's still legally defined as a bourbon. And anyone who knows bourbon in the U.S., it's the most heavily regulated industry in this country.
Right.
I think in this podcast, like, obviously we're going to have a lot of like hardcore whiskey guys, cigar guys. And I don't think this cigar was necessarily built for that guy that's looking for like the creme de la creme of cigars and smokes 3 or 4 a day. And it's that kind of thing. This cigar was meant to introduce people to cigars.
Yeah.
And also for the casual cigar smoker to be able to sit down and have a bourbon that pairs well with it. and enjoy that experience together. I think it's a cigar that I've smoked for 15 years can really enjoy because it has great flavors to it. I really enjoy it. It's a $7-8 cigar.
Right.
It's a great price point on it. But it's something that an introductory guy can pick up when he's having a bourbon and have a cigar with it and really enjoy it as well.
Yeah. Well, Buffalo Trace is much the same way now, right? You know, by itself, we talk about that a lot too, where like everyone wants the tough to find stuff from Buffalo Trace and Sazerac that they don't care about this stuff anymore. And it really wasn't that long ago, less than 10 years ago, where Buffalo Trace was still not as easy to come by in certain states, and it was like sought after like crazy before it was currency.
Yes.
It's been a long time since I've had it, and I'm enjoying it.
Are you enjoying it?
Hey, yeah, man. It's just it's light, but it's got a nice back end flavor. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with it for the price point when you get it at $25, $27 or whatever it is. Right. At MSRP, I think it's a nice bourbon. I think if you're a cocktail guy, I think it's amazing for cocktails. It's a quality bourbon for that, and it's really good and neat too.
I think it's a fine bourbon.
Yeah.
I think this is a fine cigar. I think what people forget anymore is that I'm looking at the back. You have the label there, right? The back of the Buffalo Trace bottle. I mean, there's a lot of history to Buffalo Trace.
Oldest distillery in America, right?
Yeah, it's just funny because you look at this bottle. I don't know. I haven't been in the bourbon world as long as a lot of our listeners may have, but it's very interesting because if this was just a new bottle that came out and you read the back, you're like, the fuck is this story about? Like, it's not saying anything about the bourbon. Like, you look at it, it doesn't even like barely mentions this bottle, this blend of, or this the straight bourbon here. It doesn't even really talk about this. It's about a story of Buffalo Trace and why it's called that, which I think is funny because I haven't looked at the back of the label in a long time. So I'm looking down on it, saying if it has any flavor notes or anything like that.
Yep.
It talks about Buffalo.
Smooth, confident taste. That's all the notes it gives you.
Confident.
Yeah.
Smooth and confident, just like a buffalo. On the table here, we're sipping on the, as you will, the normal Buffalo Trace. I brought out the 1.75 there in the middle. That not everyone does this with their 1.75s, but I do absolutely love that Buffalo Trace. Just they make them like novelty bottles. It's awesome.
They're cool.
It looks like it's a joke. It's just a big version of the smaller one. The Eagle Rare one is one of my favorites.
Looks because like a giant ass wine bottle.
It's just huge.
Yeah.
If you guys ever get your hands on a 1.75 Eagle Rare, I challenge you, maybe over a pillow or whatever, but try to do a neck pour with it when it's full. With one hand, you got to take it. I mean, if this thing's like up here, and you just got to turn it and just get that nice steady pour.
It's a lot of shoulder.
It's a lot of shoulder, a lot of grip strength, but I love it. I love it. So with this cigar, before we move on, Nate, what do you think of the cigar?
So it's not a bad cigar.
It's not a huge selling point.
Well, no. So I think a lot of people when they
I see what he's saying, Steve. I think it's an implied, like people are like, no, it's a novelty.
Like, our stuff doesn't suck.
When I point this cigar out to customers, like automatically they think it's a gimmick, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize Buffalo Trace made cigars." It's like, well, it's made by this company, and they're using the name and image under, like they have authorization to use the name and all that stuff. It's like, but they sit there and they're like, "Oh, that's probably going to be like just real gimmicky, and it's going to be a terrible cigar." It's like, no, it's a good for the money. It's a good cigar, and because you have that barrel aging of some of the tobaccos. Just like when we've had Jonathan on before and Justin with the diesels, like it's a great cigar to pair with whiskeys. And that's kind of, what you're going at with it. Like this is something this isn't something your cigar purists are not necessarily going to seek out and smoke all the time. But someone who's a casual cigar smoker who maybe they like to have a cigar when they're sitting outside by a fire and having a glass of whiskey, like this is a really good cigar for that. you're in that MSRP is that sub $10 price point.
Oh yeah.
You're not trying to blow anybody's palate away. You're not trying to win an award with it and stuff like that. It's like, no, it's just we want to make a quality cigar at a fair price that anyone, whether you've been smoking cigars for 20, 30 years, you're just now getting into it. Like anyone can, this is a cigar that's approachable to anyone.
Yeah, it's funny. So we're just talking about doing an event, actually with Ryan Ponis from Forged, and it's going to be, I forget, we haven't come up with the name.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. I see he was in today, and I said, he's like, yeah, I got Jonathan on the podcast tonight. And he's like, you just really don't want me on there anymore. It's like, you literally, every time you come on the show, you say you don't like doing podcasts. You don't like bourbon. He's like, I don't, but I'd like to do it for you. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll get you back on. So you're in town. You want to come by tonight? I said, probably not. I said, see?
It's kind of like what you talked about last week. I'm going to keep inviting you, but then if you keep saying no, I'm going to stop inviting you.
Right. But so with this one here, I'm smoking this thing, and I was thinking about what we were talking about today for an event, and it's Don't Smoke the Band, right? And we're talking about doing some Forge stuff, sister company or whatever you want to call it, it's part of the same umbrella as you guys that we were talking about, and doing something where we take 3 cigars from the Forge portfolio, maybe some newer ones to say the Tinder Box at Easton, and getting a group out there. And for the price of admission, you're going to get probably, like, say, this is, again, we're still planning this. You're getting 4 cigars, right? The 4 cigars to be determined. You're going to get 3 cigars, and they are not going to be banded. So you're going to smoke cigar A, cigar B, cigar C.
I like it.
And it's going to be something from the Forge portfolio. That's all they're going to know.
Yeah.
They don't know if it's newer. They know if it's older. They don't know if it's Partagas, Punch, La Gloria, El Rey, or something like. But we're kind of getting to the point where, and bear with me here on this cigar here, but it's the same thing as doing blind taste tests with bourbon and whiskey, right? Mm-hmm. I'm interested to see if we can get a crowd out there. And so, like I said, you're going to get these 3 cigars first, A, B, and C, and then we're going to get notes on it. We actually might take it a step further. I love the idea. I mean, we're just kind of bullshitting today. We're just kind of like, brainstorming. And you're going to get a you can't take this until we do the event. Then you can do it at your place if you want to do something like it. But you're going to have basically a rating sheet for both of them to teach people how to do out of 100 rating, where it's going to be like a 10 for appearance, 10 for construction, blah, 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 and rate them all out, and then say, okay, so after we talk about each of them, which one was your favorite? I like B. And you start handing out who likes the B's the most? And you start handing out the actual cigar. A, same thing. C, the same thing. And see what people think. Mm-hmm. Because I think with this one here, Buffalo Trace, you are going to deter some senior cigar smokers.
Oh, yeah.
Tenured cigar smokers. And I say, hey, we got this Buffalo Trace one in. It's $8 on the shelf. And they're like, look, man, I'm not going to smoke like Ray was. I'm not going to smoke a flavored cigar.
Yeah.
I like to smoke good cigars. But if you had this type of a cigar in a blind taste test, I think you'd surprise some people.
I think I'd do fine.
What do you think of this? And like, okay, and maybe not everyone, but I think you could have some people that you're smoking it, and you're like, what do you think the cost of that is? You might have some people say $5. You might have some people say, I don't know, average like $12, $15. Okay. And are you enjoying it? What are you getting out of it? And I'm getting a little bit of that kind of little saltiness from it. I'm getting some
cigar.
Yeah. It kind of has a little bit of those mouth-watering characteristics for me. It's hitting the palate real nice. For me, I would say if I didn't know what it was, I'm like, it's good. It's just kind of a little lighter flavors for me. It's constructed well. I'm getting a good draw on it. But I'm in the boat where I would probably say, I don't know, $10. It's not a cheap cigar. Like, I don't imagine this would be a cheap cigar. And if they said this is the Buffalo Trace cigar, I would be surprised.
Yeah.
Because I'm on the other side of that. I think we all kind of are on this panel here. We wouldn't necessarily go to Buffalo Trace cigar.
I mean, this was a flagship brand for a big arm of one of the biggest companies in the world. Like, they did not want it to be a bad cigar. So we knew what we wanted with it. We knew the price point we wanted. We knew the customers we were going after. And I think they nailed it right on the head. I don't know if you know, I mean, you'd probably guess, but the biggest seller of Buffalo Trace cigars in America is Buffalo Trace Distillery. They are constantly putting in more humidors around that place because they cannot sell enough of them. People are leaving with boxes like crazy. So they're our biggest customer, which means my boss, Steve, and I are going to have to go out and visit them soon.
Man, you're going to have to.
You got to check on them, you know, make sure everything's
it's a tough
good.
job sometimes. You know what I mean? We appreciate your hard work there.
You know, it's the beautiful hills of Kentucky are not the place I want to be spending my time.
I know.
But
I know.
yeah.
No, I get it. Rather be in Ohio, maybe Columbus area.
I owe you next year for the show, man. I'll be there.
That'd be great. I think the same thing about, let's actually switch over to that. The Buffalo Trace. You're still sipping on that, or do you switch over to Waller?
No, I'm still on the Buffalo Trace show.
All right. So what are we thinking about this Buffalo Trace? Because I have to say, for a bourbon and cigar podcast to do Buffalo Trace, I don't know if we've ever done it officially.
So
you looked it up, didn't you?
Episode 172.
Okay.
You had Spencer and was it John Wilk?
Yeah, Jake Wilk.
Jake Wilk, who had a barrel pick.
Yeah. But just the original Buffalo Trace, it's almost like why would anyone that has a bourbon affiliated podcast do a Buffalo Trace review anymore?
Because they're having the Buffalo Trace cigar on.
Because you have Buffalo Trace cigar, and I think it's something that again, it wasn't terribly long ago that this was something that was good. On the shelf, yes, but I mean, people were drinking it. They were drinking it as a sipper.
Yeah, people were drinking it instead of, you know, as you like to say, using it as currency. Like, people weren't sitting there hoarding bottles of it in their basement.
Well, come down to Texas; it's everywhere. You can buy it every day for $25 or whatever it is.
So this is coming in at 90 proof.
Yep.
Right. MSRP is right around, say, call it 25 to 30, depending on where you're at. MSRP on that.
Ohio, $27.99.
It's right in the middle of that 25 to 30, absolutely. And what do we think of this? Let's sip on this and talk about Buffalo Trace, this bottle, and then Nate and I are you want to pour a little bit more of that, yeah. And then we're gonna, as we continue talking, we have
3 different barrel picks.
3 different barrel picks.
No, I think this is a really solid, like everyday drinking bourbon. I think the price point is great for it, but it's one of those, like, because there's a currency behind it. Basically, that's why people sit there and wait in line.
Yeah,
for this one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, if it's on the shelf and there's other things from Buffalo Trace also on the shelf, this will be the last one picked.
Correct.
Because those other things, unfortunately, where we're at, have a higher resale value.
And I've already got 12 Buffalo Traces on my shelf at home. I don't need another one. Cool. What?
Looks like someone may be trying to scam people out of bottles.
Cool.
Uh-huh.
We'll find out.
I will buy 7, sir. Whoever the scammer is, I will do 7. Just put me down.
Yeah, Dave, Ron, you go ahead and send them, and we'll
send me an invoice.
Checks in the mail, man. Checks in the mail. Do you accept Diners Club?
I'll take a case, dude. I'll go
take
all in.
A case. Send it right to the garage. We appreciate that. You can actually, Dave and Ron, if you want to go ahead and just our Venmo is @BourbonandBS. What about you, Jonathan?
I was surprised with the complexity of it because it's been so long since I've had it. I would say like Weller, like Special Reserve has been kind of my daily, just easy to find, and down here it is, and it's just a nice light drinking bourbon. But I think this has a little more punch on it than Weller Reserve, and I think it has a little more flavor to it. And for a 90 proof, like the heat on the back end is nice. It's very nicely balanced. I think I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've had it.
It's a shame too, right? You know, it's not expensive. And again, this is an entry level bottle for a big distillery that is all the craze right now. And it's amazing that Buffalo Trace, you mentioned Weller Special Reserve. I would take Buffalo Trace over Weller Special Reserve any day of the week personally.
I think so now. I think I'm on that boat now.
Are you?
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of, it's like weird. I don't know. And you guys tell me it's, I'm going to do like a Nate here.
Oh boy.
Thing.
You're going full Nate. Never go full Nate.
Never go full Nate.
Wait a minute. That sounds so bad because of what the original line is. Like, all that sounds terrible.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're going home empty
I just made that up.
Well, I'm getting, it's funny, caramel,
Yep.
Nutmeg, clove, and a little bit of cinnamon.
That's pretty spot on.
And I've never really like laid it out on Buffalo Trace bottles either.
The only thing I would change is instead of caramel, I might go with butterscotch.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit softer than that deep, rich caramel.
Yeah.
I think it's just a little bit softer profile. And then you guys were talking about, compare this to Weller. Don't forget, these are two completely different mash bills. Weller's,
absolutely.
All the Weller stuff is weeded.
Yeah, but the reason I'm comparing is just like an entry level.
Yeah.
Everybody wants it brand.
Yeah. Yeah. This is in the state of Ohio, Buffalo Trace is $1 more than Special Reserve right now. Special Reserve's gone up like $3, I think, in the last.
I think it's worth $2 more.
Yeah.
Easily.
All right, we're gonna switch over to this. This is a single barrel Warehouse Liquors.
Where is that located?
That is in downtown Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, okay.
This was nice. We went to, this was November of 22.
Okay.
When I went to the Bears game with Kristen. 22, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think so. When did I go to that game? Do you remember? Well, this last time, it was 2 years ago.
Because if you went, well, was it right after you guys went to DER last year?
I don't remember.
Okay.
So this one is funny because can't find it here in Ohio, and we're kind of, there was a liquor store downtown. Someone had mentioned it to me. Here, help yourself. And it was like 2 blocks behind the hotel we were staying at that night because it was about a mile from Soldier Field. So we went in there and I was like, oh, they have a bunch of Buffalo Trace. It's kind of a big store, not like Party Source or like a big, like, Total Wine or anything like that, or Benny's. And they had some different stuff, but they had like a whole like little lineup of just Buffalo Traces there. And I was like, cool, like I'll just grab 2. Well, I guess I'll just grab 3. We were driving back and I'm like, I haven't seen any around Ohio for a while at that point.
You need something for the drive.
Yeah, it's a nice road pop, First one will get me to Indianapolis. Second one,
get you arrested.
But so yeah, right at that point, Krista can't drive. But went up to the counter with them, and I was just kind of explaining, making small talk. There weren't many people in there because I think it was after the Bears game, so no one was in there. Maybe I forget. And
yes, and the Bears lost.
She said, "Yeah, they did. November 2022. They did lose. It was funny. It was against the Lions. The Lions fans that year wanted them to lose too. That was not last year, you know what I mean? So we were sitting next to some Detroit fans from Detroit, and we were just both like kind of being like, yeah, kind of both want them to lose. Pretty depressing. The guy, anyways, real nice. Said I was from Ohio. Can't find the stuff anywhere. And he's like, oh, well, would you like a barrel pick as well? Or you want me to like swap one of those out for one of our barrel picks? And I was like, I mean, yeah. How much more is that? He's like, no, it's the same price. Let me go downstairs and grab a bottle for you. Super nice guy, right? And I was like, I had no idea anything about it. So we're going to sip on that one first. And it was funny because they did not have Eagle Rare the next morning before we left. We had went to brunch or breakfast or whatever, and there was another liquor store like 2 blocks away, and they had Buffalo Trace there. This was $31.99. They had Buffalo Trace there for almost $50. 2 blocks away, had an Eagle Rare for $99.99. And this guy in that store, I I said, how much for the Eagle Rare? It's like $99.99. I was like, oh, okay. I could probably see why you still have that up there. You know, not being too big of a dick, but I'm like, okay, yeah, $100. He's like,
throwing a shot a little bit.
and he said, hey, I know, man, I know. He's like, kind of this whole like, well, Sirius trying to talk to us here. Anyways, yeah. So like, he's like, yeah, the state, man, the city and the state, they mandate what we have to charge for our bottles here, just like cigarettes. And I didn't even have the energy in me to be like, well, I just bought it 2 blocks away for less. So
yeah.
Did you take a sip yet?
Yes, I did. Yeah, Illinois is not a regulated state like Ohio is. So
these guys, you should have sent me some of those little tasting cups. You know.
Yeah, I didn't think that far ahead, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
But no, in Ohio, everything's price controlled, so it's the same price. There's no point shopping anywhere,
right?
Or to do price comparison. But that is to what you were saying. That's one of the things I do like about. So when the state does barrel picks and they're doing it at the same proof as the everyday option. So like the one I have here that I brought is an OHLQ single barrel pick of Buffalo Trace, and it's the exact same proof. So because of that, it's the same SKU, which means it's the same price,
right?
Even though it's a single barrel, because it's still Buffalo Trace and it's 90 proof, it's the exact same price as just.
Seems really weird selling it as the same SKU. Like, wouldn't they want to track sales on different things? That seems...
No, well, they don't have to because so typically
they know they've sent you.
So, well, yeah. So the state knows exactly what they sent us. So when we'd gotten this in, I think we'd gotten 2 cases of this, but there were 2 other Buffalo Trace products that were single barrels, and because they were single barrel picks, we had to put them out on our delivery day and not our allocation drop day. And so people came in and were buying those. And we, as retailers, we can't sit there and hold bottles back for ourselves. We get in trouble if we do something like that. So you have to let that initial wave of customers come in. You can't sit there and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to jump in front of the line and be the first customer. No, you have to wait till all that initial rush comes in, and if there's anything left, then you can buy it. So when the state sent us this was the only Buffalo Trace in our delivery. So when our sales get reported overnight, the state's going to be able to sit there and go, "Oh, cool! They sold all 2 cases that we sent them of that product."
Yeah,
done.
Nice.
That's it.
What do you think of it? How does this compare?
So the initial flavor up front, I think, is the same to regular Buffalo Trace. I think the finish is a little hotter.
Interesting. I think it's more balanced, personally.
I'm actually starting to get a little bit more spice on the palate with this one.
Yeah.
That sweetness has kind of backed off a little bit because that was my second sip of this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit more spice up front with this one.
So for those who don't know, I mean, Jonathan, I know you know that. It's interesting because Buffalo Trace being a regular release product, these single barrels, once again, I mean, you're doing a single barrel. And I'm not talking bad or I don't know if I'm not speaking for a lot of the bourbon community by any means, but it's funny. Hey, I got a single barrel Buffalo Trace. A lot of people that are really into it, like, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Have you had this one? No.
Yeah.
But it's Buffalo Trace. You're like, Jesus Christ. Like, man.
It's also weird to me, and this is me not knowing a lot about the bourbon world. The single barrels are picked by generally the owner of a store, right? So the owner of a store and his employees, they'll go down to the distillery. No,
not in Ohio, but go ahead and finish with your.
But okay, so a lot of stores are that way.
Yeah,
they'll go on a trip. They pay them. They go on a trip. They taste bourbons and they pick it, and they pick a single barrel. I mean, that's kind of to me, letting a cigar shop owner, pick the blend for your next cigar, one cigar, it's like these guys, when they're making a Buffalo Trace bottle, they're mixing all these barrels.
Correct.
And they're mixing it to try to make it this perfect consistency. And I love single barrels because you're getting totally different flavor out and this and that. But I've always thought that was kind of a weird component of it. Like when a guy tells you in a store, yeah, I went down there, we picked this barrel. I'm like, I don't know if you're the guy I won't pick in my bourbon. I'm sure you're
Well,
a great guy,
so-
but you're not an expert.
Who the fuck are you, man? What do you know?
Yeah.
So that's
I
an
wouldn't let you
interesting-
make Kool-Aid for me.
Well, so that's the interesting thing about barrel picks in Ohio.
Oh yeah.
Is so the state will send like some of their OHLQ employees. They'll send 2, 3, 4 of them on that. Well, usually they make them come here. They usually make a rep come here with samples. But then what's nice about it, not everyone that works for Ohio Liquor is a bourbon person, because guess what? They also sell a shit ton of vodka and gin and tequila. So
Really?
you can't just hire people that are just bourbon drinkers.
Right.
So what the state will do is they will reach out to other people in those different communities. So like Steve and I have been invited multiple times to do barrel picks with the state of Ohio. And we don't do every single barrel pick that the state's doing, but the state's reaching out to
Be
different.
nice.
It would be
See,
nice.
I would drink bourbons you guys picked, because you know what you're doing.
Well,
We've talked
especially-
about that. We've talked about doing a barrel pick.
Especially Nate, because I'm team
God
Nate. So
damn it.
if Nate picked a bourbon, I'm drinking it.
all right. My barrel pick is coming out in the second half of this year.
Oh, we lost Jonathan. That's a shame. Oh man. That is tough. Well, we appreciate Jonathan tuning in tonight. And hey, he's back. He's back.
I was about to get up and go pee. I didn't know how long this was going to last. The joke, if we could have gone a minute and a half, that would have been good.
Longer than it should have. If you need to go, let me know.
No,
No,
yeah, team. I would drink any barrel that Nate picked.
neat.
I would smoke any cigar that Steve picked. So it's the same thing.
Well, and when you brought up that example, it's a little bit different, because I think if you're someone who wants to make your own cigar, you are choosing the recipe that goes into that product.
Yeah.
When it comes to doing a single barrel pick, it's one recipe, but you're picking from the different barrels.
Okay, yeah, that is a very different thing.
A little bit different. Like it's the same.
That was a bad analogy. I'm sorry.
Well, no, but to your point, like you said, you're not a huge bourbon guy. So, but that's the little different. Like, you're not sitting there going, you know what? I want Buffalo Trace to make me a Buffalo Trace.
I think you should throw another Steve in there
that has more rye in the mash bill. It's like, well, no, that's not how it works. Like, this is what they make. You're picking this.
Yeah.
The difference is
I get that.
with these, you're taking barrels that they qualify as potential Buffalo Trace barrels that go into Buffalo Trace, like the product we know. But as we all know, 2 barrels sitting next to each other in the rick house can have very different, especially if you expand that proximity and you go further away from each barrel. Different levels, different corners of the rick house, you're going to have different stuff, right? That's where this all comes into play. Do you want to crack that one, or we can go to?
I have a quick question, and you guys might hear this. So when they're doing their barrel picks, does Buffalo Trace put barrels aside to let people pick for barrel picks? And why would they put those? Why would they put those aside versus the ones that they push forward for regular Buffalo Trace?
So every distillery, just about every distillery, even the local ones here, have a barrel program for either groups, individuals, liquor agencies, or the state to be able to do single barrel picks from. It's basically just sitting there going, okay, these were distilled at this time period. We have these barrels be some of our single barrel program barrels that are available. They don't necessarily go and taste them and be like, all right, no, this one's too good to be a barrel pick program. So they basically just sit there and batch go, okay, here's some barrels that we're going to offer up in our single barrel program. And then they will, so like the barrel pick I did back in February, that distillery had 15 barrels that they were offering up to the state of Ohio. The state picked 10 of those 15 barrels. And then the rep for that distillery took those other 5 and started going around to liquor agencies that might have contacts with local groups that would want to do a barrel pick.
Bless you.
But they're not sitting there like taking the worst barrels or the stuff that doesn't meet their flavor profile for that product. And they're not offering the run to the litter, basically. It's just as good as what the barrels that go into the finished product. It's just a single barrel version of it. So like when we tasted those 15 barrels for that barrel pick, they were all vastly different. And so when you're doing those, you have to kind of make a balance between something that's different and intriguing that people would be interested in versus something that's so far out of the norm of this product or what people are looking for that people may not buy that.
That's wild.
Because we had someone come into Carfagna's with some barrel pick options, and me and my director were just like, yeah, these really aren't hitting it. I wouldn't want to buy a bottle of this. Knowing what it is and having tasted it, I wouldn't want to buy a bottle of this. And then so finally he offered up a couple other samples, and we're like, now wait a minute. This is way better. This I would buy a bottle of.
They do it for excitement.
Yeah, sometimes.
And Nate waited for his 11th sample to pick one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like this one.
Good thing I was already.
He goes,
This is getting so much better every one.
Which was the one before I passed out? That was number 17.
That was it.
That was number 17. That's the one that did it, man.
Yeah.
That's the one that did it.
We've had
Is that any stronger than the rest? No, sir.
Yeah. We've had times like Carfagna's where they've come, other distilleries have come with like 30 different.
I think they do this whole program, to your question. They do it for excitement, right? I mean, because again, with a lot of these, the states or groups can do these things and they sell a whole barrel. It's fun. It keeps people engaged with the distillery. It's fun to do, and it is unique. With these, I think some people have some sort of still identity to Trace, Eagle Rare. But I mean, there's a lot of different ones out there, different distilleries. Old Forester does a lot of them that I've had some great ones. I mean, from Buffalo Trace, their distillery. We talk about it. We've had Amy on. You know Amy from McClellan's Pub here, and she's done 2 Weller full proofs, at least 2, and they were dramatically different. And when she picked the second one, what she was doing. So there's excitement for the distillery, and then when you have groups doing it or some liquor stores, it gives people, they can put them up front. You know what I mean? I can put them in a different selection, like Benny's in Chicago area.
Yeah.
They have it. We walk in and there's this whole like little area of their different barrel picks.
I'm just saying, I would way rather have a Benny's pick than a Bob's pick. Because I feel like Benny's sending like people that really know whiskey to do these.
And picks. I think though, like with the warehouse liquor, where we had the one that's in your glass, I want you to try this one too when you get to it. This is an Ohio pick.
Okay.
2022.
Okay.
And there's a story behind that one too. But I think it does, especially if a bar does it, that's something that if you go into the bar or restaurant and you're looking at it, you're like, oh, you have a Woodford barrel pick, a private barrel. Let's try that. You know what I mean? If you like it, you might as well buy it while you're there.
Everyone's got a maker's pick.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I was in Phoenix, Arizona last week. And every cigar bar you went into, they had a 3-pack deal. You got a Blanton's, an Eagle Rare, and I believe it was a Weller Special Reserve, just the bottom green Weller
label.
Yeah, for $100. It was a 3-pack for $100, and I was like, "That's a hell of a deal. That's not bad at all."
For fifths?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this was Phoenix, and I went into 3 different stores, and they had the same deal running. They're all, 3 the same store.
Was that Total Wine?
No. This was like a cigar store in Phoenix.
Cigar shop.
Multiple locations, yeah.
Wow.
And they have cigar. Everyone in Phoenix is a cigar bar.
Okay,
so everybody's got a bar, but they all sell liquor out of it. And Buffalo Trace rules the city of Phoenix. It's incredible.
That's where and there's no limitations on anything too. Yeah. It was great. So this bottle, real quick, this was one that Kristen had picked up. She's like, "Hey, I got your bottle of Buffalo Trace." And I said, fantastic. And so like it was a night that
It's a great story.
I forget what was going on, but I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna have some Buffalo Trace. I think I had a bottle down in the basement, but this was sitting on the bar in the kitchen, and so she had gone to bed, and I'm like sipping on this, and I was just watching a movie, and now I'm a third into the bottle right at this point, and I go and I'm like, I'm gonna have one more. And I had the kitchen light on, and I grabbed the bottle, and just like the angle of the light, I caught the fact that this had a gold sticker on it. And I'm like, hang on a second. And it said barrel pick. And it was an OHLQ pick that she just got at like an eagle around here. No idea it was a barrel pick at all.
And at that point, how much of the barrel or bottle had you?
I mean, it was between a third gone and a half gone. Just because I mean, it was just one of those nights. I was just like, and I don't have those as much anymore. But nothing was wrong, nothing or anything. I was just having a good time by myself, watching, I don't know, some movie or something like that. I'm just like, yeah, man, it's Buffalo Trace. It's only $25. Like I can have a little bit
90
more.
proof. It goes down smooth.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're half bottle gone. You're like, shit, this is a barrel pick.
What do you think of that one?
I only had one.
Yeah, give him a chance, Steve. All right, guys, I'm going to make a quick bathroom break. I'll be right back.
You got it, buddy.
So I think the complexity from the last one is gone. I don't get it.
It's just smooth.
Like, yeah. So this drink's a little bit more like regular Buffalo Trace. The first barrel pick that we had, that one had a little bit more spice up front on the palate. This doesn't have that.
No, this is not as spicy in my opinion. I think this is more that you said what, butterscotch?
Yes.
And caramel. This is,
you were caramel, I was butterscotch.
I think this is right in that realm mainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing what differences you can have with the different barrel picks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what's so cool about barrel picks.
Yeah.
Or single barrels. Like we've talked about Four Roses on the podcast before.
Right.
If you were to go Four Roses small batch, Four Roses single barrel, a lot of consumers that are like hardcore bourbon drinkers, I think a lot of them tend to go for small batch because of the consistency from bottle to bottle. When you're doing single barrels, even though it's the same mash bill, I did not do it because it was you.
It might have been. I didn't mean to.
Because it's the same mash bill, but obviously barrels age a little bit differently. You're going to get a different flavor profile from barrel to barrel. And I think sometimes people that are spending upwards of $50+ on a bottle, they kind of want that consistency over and over.
Yeah.
So sometimes there are single barrels that really excite people, but because it's not something that they do all the time. If it's something where it's a regularly offered product like Four Roses, I think the single barrel kind of gets lost in the shuffle because people want that consistency with what they're buying. I talked about it a few weeks ago when I brought in that Midwinter Nights Dram.
Yeah.
Like 2022, people hated that bottle.
Right.
So then they didn't buy the next year.
Right.
But the next year was so much better. So I think sometimes that happens the same thing with single barrel picks.
It can. I think you get a single barrel Buffalo Trace, and I, for me, I think it's cool. I like to try different stuff, and when you're going in for less than $30 on a bottle, Bobby Crow says, "I hate to be that guy, but Buffalo Trace is overrated." I'll let you guys respond to that first.
I would like to respond.
Jonathan Herring wants to respond.
I have a hard time with. It's a solid bourbon at $25. I think in any blind taste contest, when you had 90 proof bourbons lined up blind, and you kept the price point under $40, I think it'd finish top 2 or 3 every time.
Yeah.
And 90 proof bourbons under $40, I think it would do really well.
Dude, I think Buffalo.
It's talked about a lot. Is that what overrated is? Because it's talked about all the time, but it's not an expensive bourbon. Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand that.
I think it may come from this. I think Bobby may be speaking because of unregulated states or secondary pricing.
Could be.
So,
and Bobby, we're not attacking you because that's a very common statement.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
3 years ago, Steve and I were in Louisville, and fifths of Buffalo Trace were on shelves at $40. But I was recently in Lexington, and there was a store in a mall that was kind of set up kind of like Easton. It was more of an outdoor mall.
I know that store. Yeah. Yeah.
And they sell a bunch of like bourbon memorabilia and racks to hang on the wall and stuff like that. And they actually had a couple bottles of Buffalo Trace, and there was a sign underneath, and it goes, "This bottle of Buffalo Trace is $40 if you spend more than $200 in the store. Yeah. Otherwise, it's $80."
Yeah.
And while Jess and I are walking through the store looking at stuff, and I'm laughing internally, I hear behind me someone go up to the I don't know if it was store owner, manager, or just a regular staff member. Someone's like, "Oh, I see you got a bottle of Blanton's. How much is that?" $250. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, in Arizona, like I said, $100. Blanton's, Eagle Rare, and something else. I don't know. It might have been Wheatley's or something. It might have been like a vodka. That's probably right. That makes sense.
Really? I'll kind of reiterate, like with Bobby out there, like I said, I'm not picking on him, but he put that out there, and I think that's definitely a common statement. But it's, I think, for the price, truly for the price, 25. Yeah, I'll go up to like, double that, 40, $50. I think this is a solid bottle that people just don't care about anymore. When I talk about to like real bourbon guys, a lot of times, like, hey, what you do a bourbon podcast, or whatever. Like, what's your go-to? And I'm like, honestly, if I can get it for retail, I'm a good Eagle Rare or even Buffalo Trace. And I like Old Forester 100. And like, Old Forester, what is it? OF 100. Yeah, that's solid. I'm like Old Forester got popular and big, and then it was kind of like, now it's kind of cool again because there's not really this huge secondary for most of their everyday products. So like, if you're like a hardcore drinker, like Old Forester 100 is kind of, oh yeah, you're talking. That's a solid bottle right there. But if I say Buffalo Trace, you're like, all right, it's that's just your first bourbon, like it.
But Robert says go-to is E.H. Taylor because it's so smooth.
Yeah.
It's
again,
it's a $40, but it's also a $40 MSRP bottle, right? So $25 MSRP over 40.
I think regular E.H. Taylor small batch here is around 46.
Okay, so it's a little bit of a different price classification. Not crazy, but it's a little different. I think E.H. Taylor's better as well, but
I agree. But the statement where he follows that up, it's all based around your budget, not when you're talking about overrated. I don't think it is, because if it is, you're talking about budget. Yeah, I think E.H. Taylor and Buffalo Trace themselves, they put that out there at a higher price point.
Yeah.
So I think that's all part of it. He says, I'd rather spend 40 than 25. Yeah, I mean, sure, I get that. Absolutely. But to say it's overrated at a lower price point is a little bit, I think,
if they were the same price, then I see that argument.
I can see it too. Yeah, absolutely. Let's round out part one here a little bit here. Let's talk about what we've been smoking and drinking here, the rating time, the whiskey, the cigar, and the pairing. We're going to rate the whiskey as just the regular Buffalo Trace. That's what we've all been drinking originally. You can talk about some of the other ones we've had. I don't know if you're going to crack the other one. I did it in order. If you wanted to do the OHOQ.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I tried to line it up that we did 2 OHOQs back to back, but take your time on that.
Yeah, we can do that in part 2.
Fair enough. And so we're going to talk about the whiskey as the regular Buffalo Trace, the cigar is the Buffalo Trace cigar, and the pairing is, believe it or not, Buffalo Trace and Buffalo Trace. Jonathan, go ahead if you don't mind.
All right. So is it whiskey or cigar first?
As it says on the screen, whiskey there.
Oh boy. So whiskey, I would give. I'm pleasantly surprised. It's been a long time, like I said, since I've had this. I think it could become my new daily, and I think, as Bobby said, it's overrated. Everyone views it as such, and I think it's kind of nice to go back to it and try it again. It's been a long time, so I would say the whiskey's including the value and what you're getting bang for the buck, I would say an 8.
Okay.
I think it's fantastic. And the cigar, I give the cigar, it's a little lighter for me than what I smoke regularly, but I will say it picked up about, especially like 2/3 of the way in. I really started getting a lot more flavor from it. I think it went well with the whiskey. I think the cigar did well on its own. I would give the cigar also a 7.5, and then I would give the pairing an 8. I thought the pairing was really nice and went well together.
Okay. How about you, Nate?
So for regular Buffalo Trace at that $25 to $30 price point, like I said, $27.99, I believe, here in Ohio. For the flavor profile at that price, I agree with Jonathan. I think it's an 8. I think it's a really good daily. And we didn't even talk about the mash,
No.
which Buffalo Trace doesn't really disclose their mash bills, but this has 10% or less rye in it. Then there's some malted barley, but then the rest is corn. So you're probably looking around, an 80% corn mash bill, but it doesn't drink like corn water.
Sure doesn't.
Or
we know the age.
Or mellow corn.
Yeah.
Age, again, they don't disclose that. So, I mean, it can be anywhere from 4 to 10 years in the batches. I think a lot of their stuff for Buffalo Trace tends to be around that 6-year mark. So a 6-year bourbon coming in at sub $30 for what you're as smooth and easy drinking as it is. I think it's a really good bottle for that price point. For the price point, don't think it's worth spending $50 to $100 for. I don't think it's worth waiting in line for 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday morning to get your hands on. And I think that's one of the reasons why when we get this from the state, there have been some weeks where maybe we only get a couple cases of it. But a lot of times when we get this in the store, we're getting anywhere from like 5 to 10 cases of it. And so, which I like because
this will be the next Sazerac. This will be on the shelf here soon.
That's what I hope.
Yeah.
That's really what I hope is this goes back to being something on the shelf.
Yeah.
Because I kind of hope that it gets so saturated in the market that the secondary price comes down.
The secondary price on this is low enough that I think that with their production value or their production levels of this, they want this in cocktails, in my opinion.
So it's funny you say that. So in the state of Ohio, you either have the 5th or the 175. They do make 1 liter bottles of it. However, in the state of Ohio, 1 liters are only wholesale. They're only available to bars and restaurants, and they have
cocktails.
And they have to buy it by the case. That's the only way to get a liter in the state of Ohio.
How about the cigar?
Cigar, when I had the cigar the first time, and this is only my second one. When I had the cigar the first time, it was by itself. I wasn't drinking anything with it. I give it a 7. It's a solid cigar, especially for that $8, $9 price point MSRP. Obviously, state taxes, excise, all that stuff can change that. It's a solid cigar, medium body. I think also the intensity of the flavor is medium. It's not a very rich cigar. It's not an overly complex cigar. But I think you guys did what you set out to accomplish, and that was make a very affordable cigar that's good, but also goes well with a spirit.
Yeah.
This is a cigar that I think is meant to be smoked while you're having a glass of whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I almost think it would be missing something without it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you guys hit it on the head with that. And I think that's a very difficult thing to do in this industry, is to make a cigar in that price point designed to be with a whiskey and be a really good combination. And so I think you guys did a very good job of that. Because the pairing, I give the pairing a 9.
Whoa, I like it.
I think the cigar
Mission
and whiskey,
accomplished.
I think the cigar and whiskey is a great combination. Like, I like the bottle, I like the cigar. If I'm gonna like, here's what I'll say. I would rather thank you, Jonathan. Steve's gonna send you off air real quick.
No, he had his warning.
Yeah. So I'll say this. I would rather drink the bottle by itself than smoke the cigar by itself. But doing the two of them together, that's really nice.
Dude,
Like,
you
so like, and
want a job?
I mentioned Diesel, like I mentioned Diesel earlier. Diesels are great cigars. They're great to smoke by themselves. AJ did a fantastic job with those blends.
The rabbit hole stuff, the Cave Hill, the High Gold. Oh, you're getting too hot. You gotta.
I am getting a little warm.
Like, I think those bourbons are good bourbons, but I think drinking them together is what makes the experience. We had the PX Sherry and the Derringer together on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we both liked it together more than the individual products. And I think this is the same case. We like the combination better. Or I'm speaking for myself. You haven't given your ratings.
I have not.
But I like the combination of the two better than the individual offerings.
It's fair. Jonathan, I don't know if people can see all that well. You got smaller on there. Oh, dude, that's great. That's great.
This is the greatest shirt ever.
Was that on sale or the thrift store? Find.
No, I got it. I got it at teamnate.com. That's I'm a Patreon member there.
Oh wow.
I have not been receiving any kickback from that.
It's OnlyFans. I'm sorry. I'm OnlyFans. Yeah.
Well, you've sold one, so don't go buy a house.
Don't quit the day job.
Yeah, don't quit the day job. All right, whiskey for me. I'm with you guys. I'm around 8, but I'll do an 8.5. I think this is like the Counting Crows of whiskeys anymore, bourbons, right? You know what I mean? It was great when a band is really coming up and all that stuff, and everyone's like really hyped up about it. Then all of a sudden, it kind of, they sold out. That's where I look at this type of a bottle of whiskey, is that this is something that, oh man, I used to drink this. The problem is I'll retreat from that metaphor because that similarity, because people with that, they still like the deep, the original albums,
the deep tracks, the
deep cuts, right? So like if you were a fan of a band before they got big, you still like it. Like, Jonathan and I, we were talking, I messaged you the Corey Smith thing, right? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I did not go to the show. But it's like, if he ever made it big, like Jonathan and I were like, dude, we listened to that guy back in the day, and then he finally had that one hit that really made him big. You know what I mean? That's
what we're doing the second half of the show, by the way. We're just listening to a Corey Smith album.
Yeah. So I look at this kind of as that this is beneath the people that used to like Buffalo Trace products, not necessarily only because they have advanced their palates. I look at this as something that this is a solid bottle for $25 or whatever it is, $25 to $30, with what Bobby was saying earlier, Bobby Crow, about how it's overrated. If you're paying $100 a bottle for this, but I also think like Blanton's for $200, Eagle Rare for $100.
I think Blanton's for $70 is overrated. I think Eagle Rare for $100 is overrated.
Bland's got the short and the stick real quick. Bland's was the bourbon to find. And then you collected your horses and you're like, fuck that bottle. I think that's trash. Not you necessarily, but I feel like that's where it went. And now Blanton's is like, oh, that's cute. You're looking for Blanton's, like guys that have been in this, guys and girls have been in this for that long. It's like, well, why do you have all those horses on your bar there? Did you buy those, or did you buy the bottles and drink them? You're like, well, I bought the bottles and drank them. It's like, sucks, huh? Like, you really hated it that much that you bought how many bottles to find the last fucking N in there or whatever it was?
So
you know what I'm saying though? Like, it's just, I think that's where Buffalo Trace is. I think this is something that is going in cocktails, which I think it should. I think this is a fine bottle for under $30. I would be interested for an everyday kind of drinker, not necessarily a collector out there. Maybe some that aren't like really refined palates, but I would do a a blind taste testing, possibly with like say 5, throw a Buffalo Trace in there, along with some smaller boutique guys that are starting to come on the market, and see
Similar
what they say.
proofs.
Similar proofs, yeah.
Yeah.
We did.
I have a
one,
guy. I have a guy.
the Sazerac thing.
Yeah. There was an episode where
I did that. Yeah, well, we were drinking some ryes.
Yep.
And after we signed off and everything like that, and we were talking about how it was actually a pretty positive review, if I'm not mistaken. And I went inside and I gave a blind taste test to Nate afterwards. And granted, we had some whiskey in us, but he's like, "Man, this is really good."
Yeah.
And I asked him some questions about it, and he's like, "What is it?" And I was like, "Sazerac rye." I was like, "God damn it!"
Yeah.
Because again, you're drinking the label and all that stuff. I'm not saying this is the most complex bottle, but I think it's a solid. I'll give it 8.5. The cigar, it's interesting to me because this cigar, it's a solid. I'm going to give it an 8 right there. I think this is
love it.
It's an 8. If this truly has tobacco aged in the like truly Buffalo Trace, the barrels that go into the Buffalo Trace product, not just barrels that are Buffalo Trace barrels. I think I get it. I also get it from a marketing standpoint. The Buffalo Trace is your entry level. Everyone knows what it is. Whether you're a cigar smoker, you're not, again, the conflict there is that guys and girls that have been doing the bourbon thing for a long time, or cigar thing for a long time, they're not going to grab the cigar because it says Buffalo Trace. I would be interested, Jonathan, you've got some Weller Antique over there. I'd be interested to see how this pairs with the Weller Antique, maybe even the Weller Special Reserve. You say no. I think the Special Reserve would actually, if Cohiba, which is part of your company there, if they already didn't have Weller as part of their portfolio, I could see this being the Weller Special Reserve cigar, just based on the flavor profile.
I think this cigar would go better with Special Reserve than Antique, because I think even though Antique's 107 proof, I think it drinks way hotter than 107. So I think the cigar would get lost. Special Reserve comes in around at 90 proof, I believe. So I think, and it's a wheated mash bill, so it's a little softer, it's a little sweeter. I think this cigar would go better with Weller Special Reserve than Antique.
Very possible. Nice. And I know you guys already do an Eagle Rare one as well, but this would, this blend would also be good with Eagle Rare, I think. It's great with this. I'll do the pairing here. I think this is I'll give it an 8.5 on the pairing. I think this is a very enjoyable pairing.
It's beautiful.
You didn't ask if I wanted a job. That's cool. I think that it's very enjoyable. Yeah, I know. I get it. I got the shirt. You got the shirt.
You have a great.
I do have a great job. It's just nice to know that someone would wants you a little bit. You know what I mean? It's kind of nice. But hashtag Team Nate.
I tried to think of something to say, but I couldn't.
Do you have an extra one of those shirts you could send me?
No, I just bought one, but I could make you one.
You don't have
What do you want, a medium?
Extra medium would be nice.
Extra medium.
But no, I think you guys did a great job with this. I mean, I know it's been a long part one, but it's been fun. And I think that this is something that I would encourage even some people that smoke cigars on the regular, that are bourbon drinkers on the regular, that are very much in the collecting side of it, have a fun night, and also get one of your bottles of Buffalo Trace. If you have a single barrel or whatever pick, grab this cigar and just try it. I mean, this is something that sometimes it's funny. Nate doesn't drink Buffalo Trace very often. Jonathan, you said you haven't had it in a long time.
No,
and you're sipping on it, and it sounds like you're both enjoying this bottle.
Yeah.
To a point
and
that
Nate's proof for it.
That's not the first time I've been called that. Well,
he's drinking a 90 and enjoying it.
I'll tell you a story in the intermission.
With that being said,
for the Facebook guys.
With that being said, I do appreciate, Jonathan, you being a part of this. I know you're extremely busy. You got a lot going on. And congratulations on your new gig. And we wish you continued success. And hopefully when you get even bigger and more famous in the cigar industry, you'll still come on this show with you and your friends.
But that's what's cool about knowing Jonathan, as long as you and I have, is to see his journey.
He already has your T-shirt, man. Jesus Christ.
Thank you, Nate. It's been a fun journey, and you guys have been a big part of it. And like, I do the Patreon thing, as we talked about.
We appreciate that.
But it's because when I'm happen to be home on a Wednesday, which is rare, I get to sit on my porch, see two of my friends talk about cigars and bourbon, and it's always entertaining. I get to chat with Sean and Nate and Ray and Bobby, and we get to sit there and chat and have a good time. And man, that's a lot more valuable than a Netflix membership to me. Like it's a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys for what you do.
Appreciate that. And to that, we'll round out part 1. We'll go into part 2 here. Quick intermission. Cheers. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. Cheers, Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Cheers, guys. I'm lighting up a knuckle sandwich because I work for M&D now, so I can smoke all of it.
Which knuckle sandwich?
I took the foot band off. Does it say it on the band?
What shade is it?
It's either Connecticut, Habano, or Maduro.
Looks like a Habano.
That's imagine. A Habano. I saw it. Ray keeps saying, please pull the plug.
Why? Because I got too sentimental. The Englishmen do not like sentimentality at all. They were raised that you kept your emotions inside.
Yeah, you got to bury it way down.
You got to bury it real deep.
Real deep. And
then you just make jokes a lot and pretend like you're not emotional.
That's right. You use humor as a defense mechanism. I like, did you see this comment from Bobby Crow?
Brother, no one can control Steve.
So does a pretty good job of it.
Steve, yeah, she's got a harness on you now, but the harness,
No, it's been great, man.
You guys are a great pair. It's great to see.
Appreciate that.
What does Sean mean? Mine was better.
I don't know. These guys, it's tough to keep seeing pull the plug. I do love, to your point, the Bourbon and BS community. It's been a lot of fun seeing all these different people come together over all of that stuff.
It's like, to me, it's like going to my hometown bar. When I'm back in town, I get to go to my hometown bar, hang out with my buddies. It's nice.
And Bobby Crow, yes, Kristen really liked the hats and appreciate that gesture there. I will say the fitted hat, it was funny in the store. Not saying I don't like the hat because it's going to be hung up somewhere, but I forget what size you got, and even Josh was in the shop, and I said, I don't think either one of these is going to fit my head. He's like, the bit was 7 3/8. Like, that's going to fit. And I was like, I put it on. Nope.
Yeah. That's like a herring size, dude. That's huge.
You're bigger than 7 3/8.
It was either 7 1/8 or 7 3/8. I forget what it was, but it's inside. And it was funny because we used to say it's from my mom's side. It's a Zider head. It's just, I don't know. It's big.
All right.
It's big. Not much in there, but it's big.
No, I was going to say, Jonathan, you mentioned me being a proof whore. So there's a bottle I bought last year because in the state of Ohio last year, it only came up until last year. Like, it only came out once a year. It's a single barrel. It's at 94 proof. It's $53, but it has no secondary value. Even though it comes out once a year, there's no secondary value on it. So people don't buy it. So when I went into a store, or when I went into work, and they still had 3 bottles on the shelf of a 6-pack, I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy a bottle. And I've been sitting on that bottle. Well, recently we got that bottle back in. We were able to actually order that bottle.
What was it?
It's called Waffens. It's a single barrel, $52.99. So I bought another bottle, and I was like, okay, I have this bottle. I have another one. I kind of want to bring one onto the podcast, but we've still been sitting on a couple bottles at the store. And I'm like, do I buy another bottle? So today, after I got done mowing the grass, I was like, you know what? I'm going to open that. I'm going to open one of the bottles and see if it's actually worth buying another bottle of.
Good.
God damn, it's good.
All right.
See, guys, this is the kind of shit you get by being on live.
What?
Stories like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get that on the podcast.
Okay.
You want to do that?
I can get you a bottle.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, if I go into work tomorrow, they still have it. If not, I have one that I want to bring on the podcast.
I want to say I've seen that at Benny's.
Maybe, but
Yeah.
like in years past, it only drop in Ohio once a year, and the bar at Carfagna still has like half a bottle sitting at the bar.
I will be going to Chicago in July, so we'll have to promote that as we get closer to that time. And if anyone wants like not asking for handouts, but if anyone wants to like throw some Venmo stuff.
I don't know why my wife just sent me a picture of it. I'm like,
I've
yes,
seen that.
I know.
I think I've seen that.
I see that bottle every day when I go to work.
So Benny's got a good selection for compared to here. So we'll have to see what we can do there. Are you guys ready for part 2 here so we can keep this rolling?
Keep rolling.
Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 316, part 2, Beyond the BS, and we are still.
I just thought of something really cool. We have Jonathan on episode 316, so John 316.
That's good.
I
was on episode 200, which has nothing to do with my name.
Stone Cold.
316.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
That's right.
Austin 3. There you go. We got you into it too.
All right, there we go. All right, so
full circle, baby.
We're episode 316 Beyond the BS. This is where we kind of go a little bit away from the typical bourbon and cigar podcast, but we have a good community out there, Bourbon and BS community page on Facebook, and we've got some live listeners still right now on Facebook and YouTube live. Looks like we have several on YouTube, actually. I'm going to see if anyone's commenting right now.
I think my buddy Jesse, he just texted me. He's watching on YouTube.
Fantastic, yeah. Good time to remind everyone to, if you guys are enjoying it, to please share, like, comment, review, and subscribe on all formats that you enjoy listening to our show, and tell your friends and family. So we appreciate that. Ray, it's just a huge barrel of sunshine there. Barely live listeners. Are they not commenting enough for him, or we don't have enough for him? I'm not sure. But Ray, if you'd like to share the podcast to your Facebook page and get some more listeners out there, that'd be fantastic. Everyone out there, we love having you guys on, Ray included, especially Ray. He is on pretty much every week, and it's good to see. And Jonathan, you got to meet Ray a couple of years ago, actually, at the Smoking Tent.
No, I missed the year. Where
that wasn't the year you were there.
Yeah, that was the year I missed. I feel like I know Ray.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm too happy, I just think of Ray's comments.
Oh,
I feel better.
Come on. All right, so tonight, we wanted to keep this thing light, and Jonathan's been on several times, so I don't think you've had one of these types of part 2s, but it's open to you guys out there that are listening, of course. But I've got a couple of, I call it 20 questions, so we'll put it out there that you guys got to give me a number. This is just random questions tonight. We're doing random conversation.
Okay.
It's not going to be too deep. I say that it might turn deep, but
we've had that happen.
The plan is that it's not too.
No, we're good. We're good either way.
All right, we're good either way. So I am going to start with some simple ones. Okay, just simple. Get into the Weller Antique there.
Yeah, figure I might as well give it a try.
So I'm gonna see if I can put these on the feed here. They'll be under my name on the feed here. So give me a number, Jonathan. 1 through 20. We're going to start with this.
11.
11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, God. No, it's not a bad one. It's just this is. All right.
You mean to do a different number?
No. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to put it up on the screen. This is number 11, and this is Do you root for any particular sports teams? I did not plan this. This is simply on a list.
All right,
Jonathan,
so I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna go in order.
Jonathan. This is part 2.
I hate sports personally, but I hear they're fun. I have.
Hey, there's one for you. Did you see Justin Turner there? That's
I did. Go Dogs, Justin.
We got they're lighting up here.
So I got my number one team. There'll always be my number one team. Me and my father used to listen to and watch almost every Braves game growing up, and I will forever be an Atlanta Braves guy. They're winning at least 7-1 at last time I checked against the Chicago Cubs.
It was
tonight.
2-1. Is it 7-1 right now?
Yeah, they're blowing them out.
Oof.
And my number 2 team is
they won last night. The Cubs won last night, just so you guys know.
Yeah. So my alma mater, University of Georgia. University of Georgia football is my number 2 team. We've won back-to-back national championships 2 out of the last 3 years. We are projected to be the number 1 team in the nation this year. We're having a great recruiting season. We are not OHIO. We are the Dogs, and we get it done. And number 3, my team, and I'll stop it here. I could go a couple further.
Top 14. Let's go.
My top 3, that's all I'm doing, is Oklahoma City Thunder. And the reason that is my best friend from college that played for University of Georgia. We were roommates all the way through college. Right. He's the head assistant coach for the Thunder. He got me tickets to Game 6 the other day in Dallas, and we went to the game and had a good time. They lost in a close game, but they're an up-and-coming, fun team. So I got a MLB, college football, and then I go Oklahoma City Thunder or wherever my friend coaches.
Like that song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like that song, 98 Braves, Morgan Wallen.
Have
you heard that song?
Yeah, I've heard it.
You don't like Morgan Wallen, I get it.
Yeah.
Have you seen the video where they were like some of the guys were in attendance at the concert?
No.
Yeah,
like cool. Players were there?
Yeah, from the 98 Braves.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
The 98 Braves, I'll always remember that team because we were unbelievable. And we ended up losing in the playoffs. And I stayed up late and watched the game. And my mom, who was a school teacher, walked into my bedroom the next day and she said, "Jonathan, do you need to stay home today?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I do." And she said, "Okay." That's how big of a Braves fan. I got to skip a day of school because of the Braves losing in the playoffs because I was that big of a fan. And my mom realized it. I appreciated that.
I love that, man. I do love, and I know that it's funny. Ray's saying, next question. He's not a big sports guy over there about what we talk about, but it is really. Oh, I like Justin Turner throwing that out.
Oh yeah, got the Bears in there. The Bears.
A little curveball there. Let's throw that up on the screen here. Where's that comment here?
Throw that up there.
Right, yeah, Justin Turner out there. A little hybrid action coming from Justin. It's Jonathan Herring 1 and 2, and then I'm in there number 3 with the Chicago Bears. I like that.
I can go 4, 5, 6, whatever you want.
No, you don't have to. No,
I'm kidding.
We lost Jonathan again. I'm sorry about that.
Oh no.
Keeps cutting out. Nate, what do you got?
So
do you root for any particular sports team?
All right. So any collegiate sport, Ohio State. For professional baseball, Cincinnati Reds. I don't give a shit about NBA. And then NFL, for 30 years, I've been a Dallas Cowboys fan.
America's team. It's America's team.
I live 30 minutes from the stadium. I don't root for them. Yeah. I live 30 minutes from the stadium and have no rooting interest.
Have you been there?
No. I want to go to a game.
My mom's been there.
You should go there, at least for a concert or something.
So I want to go to a game.
You should.
The company my mom used to work for when she still lived here in Columbus was headquartered in Dallas. And she got to go down there for a work trip. And they actually got to tour AT&T Stadium. And she got
Jerry's house.
Yep. She got to go into the locker rooms and everything. gorgeous place. Her boss got fired because he was using company resources to pay for his trips to go see Dallas Stars games.
Is that illegal now?
She probably got good seats then.
No, they didn't go to a game.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
quick anecdote here. When I was like 10 years old, starter jackets were all the rage, and the Cowboys were incredible. This was 1995.
It was either the Dallas one or the back when it was New Orleans Hornets.
Oh yeah.
Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah. It was a Charlotte Hornets.
Originally. Yeah.
With Grandmama on there.
Yeah.
So
while you're talking, because I need to know if Kristen's still listening live right now, she wanted a starter jacket. It was not a Chicago team, and her dad said no. If she's still listening, I want to know which was that, because I'm forgetting.
That's my exact story. So I told my dad, I said I wanted a Cowboy starter jacket, and he goes, Emmitt Smith played for Florida. You're not getting a Cowboy starter jacket. That was the end of the discussion.
No,
we hate Florida so much in our household just because they had a player from Florida on there that was a star. My dad said,
it was a huge thing. I had an Apex jacket, if you remember that. Couldn't afford my parents did just fine. Chris, she wouldn't put it on the feed. She wanted a Cowboys jacket because of the colors being cuter on me. And she said, Alan, which is her dad, said, absolutely not.
I just got called up by Hector Alfonso. That's my largest call out I've ever gotten. And
Hector, Hector, right?
Yeah, he said a terrible, hateful thing to me.
Huge Mets fan.
Yeah, how the Mets?
Yeah, he said that I'm a huge Mets fan because he knows I hate the Mets.
I know.
Passion.
What brand of cigars are you smoking right now? So Hector knows.
Hector, I am smoking a knuckle sandwich. I don't know who makes this, but I'm smoking a knuckle sandwich. I'm sure you had nothing to do with this.
Uncanny. This is amazing.
That's pretty incredible.
That's
beautiful. Your sports
right here,
Chicago.
Yeah, everything's Chicago.
Everything's Chicago there.
Yep.
Huge Bears fan, Cubs fan behind that, Bulls.
Yep. Well,
and
Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, I try, man. I try sometimes to watch NBA right now.
I haven't watched NBA in years.
I know I'm of that generational, old guy type thing where I don't think I can watch better basketball than growing up in the 90s and watching the Bulls in the 90s. Being a Bulls fan, and we lived here in Columbus, Ohio, but all my family, so as a kid, we moved here and there weren't any pro teams in Columbus. So we were already dialed into Chicago teams. It was like the Bears won the Super Bowl when I was 5 years old. We went to a Super Bowl party there. 1985, and the Bulls.
Kevin Butler was their kicker from UGA.
Yep, Kevin Butler. Cheers to that. But yeah, so I feel like I am that person where I watched elite, the best basketball I could ever watch, and that was my childhood. And I have not been a basketball fan. I wanted to be better at basketball because of the Bulls growing up, but I was absolutely better at baseball. But the Cubs weren't as good as Jordan and the Bulls, so I practiced basketball in the driveway way more than I practiced baseball, and I was way better at baseball. I just never applied myself. So
and
Bears is more now. This is like I like the NFL vibe. It's yes, there's games several times a week, but it's Sundays, right? If your team has a Monday night or a Thursday night or whatever it might be, but it's I don't just watch NFL football all the time, but I watch the Bears when they're playing.
See, I didn't say an NFL team, and Falcons are my team, but it's not a top three. But I watch
Kirk Cousins, man. He's got Jesus on his side. You got that coming to Atlanta. Jesus is coming to Atlanta.
Jesus has come to Atlanta, but I do probably watch more NFL than any other sport. But I don't have actually a team that I'm diehard about.
All right, let's get another number here because we're about to lose Ray. We
13. Lucky 13.
Don't want to lose Ray.
13. All right, I went to an ad page. Are we going to stay on that same topic? All right.
No, because that was 11, I think.
No, I know, but like the same. This is simple. So 11, 12, 13. No, well, this is easy. I'm being honest here on this this list here.
Sean just said, I do nude setting for the cheap. You want to unpack that?
Oh, because Ray said he was going to go paint something. So Sean's like, I'll be the model.
Okay, I got you.
There you go.
No one wants to see that, Sean.
I feel like everyone's going to know my answer on this one, but we'll talk about it. Just this is not going to be probably a drawn out one here. Which do you like the most, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Dogs.
Dags.
Okay. All right.
Cats are assholes. You know, the biggest thing that you can say about a cat, and I've heard this so many times when this comes up, right? But my cat it's great because it's like a dog. You've heard that, right? Like when someone,
yeah, that's their best way to compliment
it. Yeah. Of a cat, they say it's like a dog. And Bobby, God love him.
Oh,
it's all right. He was a good dog.
He was.
Probably still is.
Yeah.
Yeah, dogs. If we were also lucky that every time you came into a room that the people in there were so excited to see you, just like a dog. I mean, this world would be such a better place. Am I wrong here?
No. I mean, my dog's 16 years old. We adopted her when she was 12.
Yeah.
And it's like, people are always like, oh, great. That's so great of you. And I'm like, no, what's great is like what she's been for us. Like, she's incredible. And,
do you have a bartender there?
I have a bartender, Jared from Christoph.
Jared from Christoph. There we go.
Put some pants on.
He can join us if he wants to for part 2 here.
Let me ask him.
Mom,
me alone.
I never know what he's doing back there.
Well, he's working in the kitchen.
All right. We'll put it out. Whoever puts this on the comment feed here, give us a number between 1 and 20.
Well, earlier when you first...
All right, Jared's hopping in.
Earlier when you first posed that, Bobby Crow was the first
what am I doing?
Chime in with
number 5. Number 5.
And then Adrian with number 9.
All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Hang on a second. We'll go to... Well, Jared was here.
There.
We got people throwing out numbers there. I love it. I love this.
Adrian already said you threw out number 9. Bobby threw out number 5.
Adrian threw out a 3 this time.
I know. They're changing numbers.
All right. Jared's coming in. He's joining us. He's getting a glass.
Okay.
This is Jared, the national sales manager.
He's still inside.
He's opening the fridge.
Last name is
Trudeau.
Like Trudeau. Jared Trudeau is joining us. Can he hear us? Or are you on your headphones?
No, I took the headphones off him.
I like it.
What's
up, boys?
Jared, good to see you, man. How are you?
How are you guys?
Good. So we're doing Beyond the BS here. I don't know if you remember this show or not, but
I do.
We're a little off script here on Beyond the BS. So what pet peeve drives you the craziest?
Oh boy. Why did you ask Jared this? He has
because he just joined us.
Yeah, but I'm just saying this is the most
if he says house guest.
This is the most Jared question I've ever heard in my life. This was set up.
I have so many pet peeves.
It's a singular thing. Pet peeve, not pet peeves.
My number one pet peeve is when somebody says it is it's like
no brainer.
No brainer. Yeah.
I knew that.
No brainer.
He hates no brainer.
It's like if a salesperson says to me, like, dude, it's a no brainer. It's like, so if I don't literally believe every single thing that you've told me, I don't have a brain. Is that
you're an idiot? You're
like,
absolutely an idiot.
I'm a total fucking moron if I don't listen to every single word that you said and believe it. Like, yeah. So that's my number one pet peeve. When a salesperson says,
but he could give you a list of 120.
Yeah, I got.
He's got a lot of pet peeves here. This guy.
Yeah.
Mine is the improper usage of the word were or was.
Were or was, or the word?
Yeah, like a guy is like, we're going to the store, or like they don't get the
like
word. The word was. Grammar is my thing.
Yeah.
Just grammar.
you
I
sound like
got
an
grammar.
idiot.
I got you. Yeah.
If you sound like an idiot when you post something,
You want an apostrophe in there, right? You want
Yeah,
a little
just-
bit of a contraction going on.
if you don't know, just throw an apostrophe.
How do you feel, Jonathan, about there, and there?
That one bothers me too. Anything grammatically bothers me so much because I'm like, we have spell check. There's so many tools that are at
Spell check doesn't
disposal
always
now.
pick it up.
You can Google there. Which one should I use? You know,
No
there.
one's going to take that time on social media.
But how do you like frustrated?
What's that?
When people say frustrated, have you ever heard someone say that?
I've never
No.
heard that.
They're in Ohio.
Oh.
Say that right there.
In
What does
the-
that
like,
mean?
In the South, it means frustrated. It's a
No, I
it's a-
understand what that means. But what does
corruption
there
of
in
a
Ohio mean is what I was more.
No, because like in
It's like- I
Ohio,
think
that's
it's
probably
like
not a thing. It's a southern
it's a
thing.
Southern thing.
Yeah.
People say frustrated, and it drives me.
Well,
God, I'm
Yeah, regardless,
That's a
Sean.
good
Yeah,
one.
that was a
That's
good
a
one.
good
the one I get that's close to that, working in a liquor store, is speaking of tequila, people go Resposado. Like, no, it's Reposado. Not
The cigar business is full of that. Alex Bradley, Macanudo,
Oh yeah,
Johnny
There-
Briscoe.
I mean,
Yeah.
shit. There's a Facebook group on Facebook of just dedicated to people saying just stupid shit like that.
I'm gonna tell. So I was
Mispronunciations and just It's
hanging
just-
out with Ricky Rodriguez recently, and he told me that like one of the first times he got in the car with Edgar Coleman, who was the president of STG. He was told that Edgar Coleman loved Macanudo Cafe, this certain size. And so Edgar gets in the car, this old man that created this whole cigar company, and he gives him a Macanudo, and he goes, "Sir, I heard this was your favorite cigar. I also love Macanudo, and I'm really enjoying selling it."
on.
Rick said that to him because he came right out of the carpet business, like he had no idea. And he said that Mr. Coleman dressed him down for 5 minutes and said, "We do not sell pasta. We don't sell noodles of any kind." Like, and he just went to town on him. And I'm sorry for telling a Ricky story. I think Ricky would be okay with it.
Oh, Ricky would absolutely be okay with it. He's told some stories on this podcast, and
But he
it's
said Macanudo
enjoyable.
to Edgar Coleman, who was the guy, the Macanudo guy.
Ricky told a story where he didn't even really smoke cigars before he got the job with.
Yeah,
I mean, he literally he went into a store and he didn't know what to buy. It was a cigar lounge, and he ended up buying a Macanudo and something else. I forget what it was, but he like had no idea what the General like sold at all. And he bought the Macanudo, and he's like, "Oh, good choice. Yeah, that's one of our best sellers." He's like, "Absolutely." And he was like smoking it, and he was like coughing. He's like, "No, I have like a thing going on." Like, he can smoke cigars. He's like, "Yeah, I think I'm coming down with something." He's like, "Yeah, just completely, went that." Me, pet peeve drives you the crazy. I don't know if it's the craziest, but it's something that I deal with on a regular basis. It's with driving. It's
oh, mine too.
the lack of turn signals. It's
Mm.
that's a full-blown disrespect for everyone else in the world. If you don't use your turn signal, and I don't know if you care if you're switching lanes, if you're in the turn lane, you got to use your turn signal.
It's a suggestion.
That just bugs the shit out of me that you think you're too good, that I just need to know where you're gonna go.
I just run into them.
I can't do that.
I have a
Can't do
company
that.
car.
Yeah, come-
And now it's even more so because when I had a turn signal bulb out in front of my car, and to change a turn signal bulb in my car, you have to take a wheel off and the wheel well and go into the back.
a wheel. You have to take a wheel well out.
You have to take the wheel off, and then you have to peel back the wheel liner, which is fabric that you could tear. And if you tear that, you have to buy a new one. And then you go in from behind that and change a $15 bulb that
Well engineered. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just had a headlight replaced on it as well. You have to take 3/4 of the bumper off. So yeah, it's a lot of fun there.
I know.
Really cheap.
Some of the old Jeeps, they had to take the whole fucking bumper off in order to replace a headlight.
Yeah, well, Nate, what's your craziest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve is also driving, but a little different.
Sure.
If I'm in a lane, and this not the number one lane, but like lane number 3 either out of 3 or out of 4, whatever. Take your pick. If I'm in a
I'm
lane,
driver's test right now.
if I'm in a lane and I'm exceeding the speed limit already, and someone rides my ass
Sure.
when they could go either direction of me to pass me. So I will sit there and I will drive for a little bit, waiting for this person to get off my ass and go around me. If they don't, after a certain period of time, I'll use my cruise control and I'll go down 1 mile an hour. And then after a mile, click it down another mile an hour. And
Spite.
oh,
It's all spite. Yeah, for
I'm-
sure. That's a spite
pettiness.
thing. Yeah.
and so
100%.
I've literally had times where then I've been driving below the speed limit before that person.
And they won't go around you.
Yes. And then so there was one, I was actually coming to your house for a podcast, and I'm on 270 and I'm doing this, and then
Oh, shit.
finally I get over into my lane and this person passes me.
This trumps everything.
I get right back behind them. And in this one particular car, I was like, okay, if you want to ride my ass, I'm going to ride yours. The next thing I know, I'm doing 85 miles an hour and they're still pulling away from me. I'm like, wait a minute. I was already speeding, but now you want to do 15 miles an hour faster than I was at least, and I still can't catch you? Fuck you.
So you just beat them? You just like pull
Nope,
around them? Or what
nope,
do you do?
I just let off the gas.
You just do the pit maneuver and take them off the road?
I wish. That was when I had the Cobalt, not when I had the Lexus.
You should. Everybody
I'd rather
should
do
get,
it in the Cobalt than the Lexus.
Yeah, well, now I don't have the Cobalt anymore.
Oh shit! Now you're fucked.
I
everyone
sold
should
it.
get one like rocket launcher, and one rocket per year, and you can
Per
use it
year.
per year, and you can use your one rocket. You cannot use it, but you can use it.
What about the murder part of it?
Totally ignored for the rocket.
Oh, so
If
we're
you
going
died
like
a
Purge
rocket,
style
if you
here.
died
This
a
is
rocket,
Purge
you
thing.
are
This
not.
is-
Yeah, no
Oh,
one
I
investigates your death if you died a rocket,
Cool.
and you can use it once a year.
Do you
Oh,
like want like a full blown like James Bond mobile out there? Like you have like
No, I
do you have
want-
anything behind you?
Like,
Like
no, I
like
want
you throw
like
the
a-
tax and you like an
No,
oil
I wanna,
slick
like
or like
ride the
smoke?
camel RPG, and if you hit your rocket shot, you hit it. If you don't, you don't. But you can't go to jail for rocket murder.
You can't go to jail for rocket murder.
But one a year.
You
get one a
know,
year.
You say that it's all fun and games until someone throws their rocket at you.
with our current politics, I don't know if that would pass or not, honestly.
I don't know, but maybe in November.
And that's a good reminder for everyone listening out there is remember to vote. Make sure that your voice is
We're
heard.
rocking out the vote this year on Bourbon and BS podcast.
Rock out the vote. All right, let's.
Senate Bill RPG 7.
All right, we'll do another one in this category, 1 through 20. Justin, what do you got?
7.
7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
That's very unenthusiastic.
You got another good one?
There's not like good ones on here, but I've got some. This is like this is treetop levels type stuff here. Put it up here.
We're keeping it light.
What website is your biggest time suck?
Ooh.
Instagram.
Nate
I
comes
think
out with
for
Instagram.
me, I have never twote in my entire life, or twoten, whatever the.
It's called
Yeah.
Xing.
I've never X'd in my life, but I'm on X. I go to X and I just scroll, and it's
Really?
almost like the algorithm is optimized to infuriate me, and that is why I use it.
So you
Because-
strive off of this.
I see the only stuff I see is stuff that makes me very angry, and I don't know
I feel
why.
like there's a lot of layers to that onion we got going on
Yeah.
here right now.
I've never commented or tweeted or done any engagement in my life.
Have you typed out a reply and deleted it before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
he says quietly,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I have zero content. All I do is just scroll and be mad about whatever I'm looking at.
And you do this often. This is
Every
the one.
fucking chance I get, Steve. Every chance I get.
I appreciate you admitting that, but I feel like we need to work on some things there.
I feel like it could be very easily avoidable. I don't use it for work. I don't use it for learning or anything. All I do is makes me in a worse mood, and I continue to go back to it multiple times a day.
It's so funny because we all know the algorithms, the ones that you look at longer, they show you more of it.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And with Twitter or X, like you pick what you follow.
Yeah,
that's the crazy part about the Twitter or X thing, is that it's not just like an algorithm that you're just like watching reels or like on TikTok.
Yeah, it's like, oh yes, I agree with that, but it pisses me the fuck off that that's happening.
No, if I go to following, it's a very nice piece of content, but I don't like going to following because I enjoy all of that. I like going to suggested for you.
Yeah,
sure.
Which is where it predicts who you are and tries to trigger you every 20 seconds.
White guy. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I would
funny.
say
real quick, Jonathan. Ray Chester just texted me. He says, "I got blocked." I said, "How? I didn't block you."
Ray got blocked.
Apparently, he can't watch this anymore. But I said, "How?" So I
I'm
don't
not
know.
gonna say I did it, or
Vietnamese government out there. Maybe we actually. Someone said TikTok on there on the comment feed. That might have actually blocked Ray.
That was Justin.
No, but on the feed.
Yeah, it was Justin on the feed. Said
Justin Turner. Yeah.
This is
no brand TikTok for sure. It's like Ray's just blocked.
Adrian, that's terrible. That's terrible.
What did Adrian say?
He said blankhub.com.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh boy. What was he talking about?
He used to have come to Jesus talk.
If you don't know what the blank part is, good for you.
I'm not explaining this to you.
I would say mine is Facebook because I'm older. I'm an older man, older white gentleman. But yeah, I get
So
sucked
political.
into just people's lives, and I actually put a timer on my phone in the last week, so I have an hour time limit on X and on Facebook, and it'll warn me at like 3:00 in the afternoon. It'll tell me you have 5 minutes left.
What?
Yeah, that's what, because like I've used my 55 minutes. And
do you have an unlimited plan, or do you have like you pay?
No, so on
the gigabyte
on the iPhone, you can set a limit for social media apps.
Yeah, for children.
Yeah, and I'm doing it for myself because I want to spend less time on social media. I think that's really nice. Thing.
Does this suck into it, by the way? Because you will not be able to get on Facebook tomorrow.
So I will tell you, I had to disagree with my limit tonight and say I'm going to bypass my limit to be on the.
On the good. Thank you. Podcast. Thank you for going against your limit.
It's funny because Ray Cheshire said, I said, it's because someone mentioned TikTok, and he said it because I posted too much to protect me. And I said, Vietnam. He said, no, Facebook. So
too many white.
These are the choices that you guys
right
make.
wingers on here for him.
Yeah. How great is Instagram for our society, though? It's incredible.
So, like I said, that's my biggest one because, like, there are people I follow and I check the stories. I'm like, cool. Some of them are hilarious, and that's usually what I do. It's I follow stuff that's usually funny, but then going through the reels, like a lot of the reels I've been watching lately are either from the video game I started playing a couple months ago, or they're clips from Ted Lasso.
I like that show.
I'd be like, it's like,
what's your video game, Nate?
Helldivers 2.
Jared's a big video game guy.
So
I've never heard of Helldivers 1.
Yeah,
that would just be Helldivers.
No,
you don't say one when you're getting out there with something. You don't like put a one.
It's not Super Mario Brothers 1.
No, it's just Super Mario Brothers.
That's right, and then Super Mario Brothers
and then 2, and you don't like. That's a bold move. You name something. You guys in the cigar industry, you're like, this is Cigar Blend 1. Like, when's 2 coming out? Well,
if we could get away with that.
Well, they did that with Trinidad.
I think that's a great idea.
If we could get away with that.
If you could just start saying like the Christoph original Maduro too.
We do as near as makes no difference to that already by just naming it whatever the rapper is. So we do as near as makes no difference to 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. The cigar world is like it's sun grown. Like, what is that? So what does that mean?
It's grown in the sun, obviously.
Yeah. So it's not shade grown.
My biggest one of my biggest cigar pet peeves is sun grown. Show me a fucking moon grown plant. and I'll be impressed. It's a plant. They're all.
I kind of want to smoke that. I want to smoke a moon grown.
Well, it's like in the whiskey world, the term small batch.
I think moon grown is a little bit like even like milder than a shade grown, actually.
Or when people are like, "What's the binder on this?" and I'm like, "What's your favorite binder?" Name. Do me a favor. I'll give you $1,000 if you can tell me the name of a binder, because this is Jose Mendez. CB644. Is that one you like? No? All right.
I don't think I've ever had that.
Yeah. Is that something you like? Really?
But it's good.
Oh, yeah.
It's really nice.
Man, I think we hit a nerve there.
So the cigar pet peeves is so
hundreds.
I'm just gonna put it up on the bottom.
Dude.
Like that'll be a topic for part 2 sometime. Pet peeve.
I work in the cigar and whiskey world, and it's I get the worst of both of them.
Oh yeah. It's brutal.
Sean Anderson throws one out there. It's always deep, right? He says, "What are the 3 saddest summaries of life phrases?" Oof.
Go back to your list.
Can you give us an example, Sean? Can you give us?
Sean, give us an example here for sure.
Clarification.
All right, let's do another one off this list. 9-1.
That was Adrian's first suggestion.
Oh. Copy, paste. Dead air on podcasts is always the best. I like.
Hey, have you poured my OHLQ pick yet?
I liked it.
What's more impressive is you had dead air with Jared on.
I like
didn't know
that.
it was going to be on, to be fair.
Jared, we need to talk about Christoph, by the way, sometime.
Okay.
This is not appropriate.
That'd be good.
If you could travel through time, what time period would you visit?
Ooh.
That's a good one.
When did air conditioning get invented?
Yeah, Chuck was like, nothing after
So there's,
1974.
I'll chime in, or I'll chime in here. I'm trying to comment to Ray here too. There's a lot that goes into the time period, right? We're all white guys on here, so it's obviously in America at least. Well, I'm just saying, like, if you're going to go with like the U.S. side of things, like we're already in a better place a lot of times here with the white thing. But as far as like, what's your income level? If you're going way, way back, if you're going way like 1,000 years ago, that's obviously just different. But just in general, if things are good for you, is what I'm going to say with this one. What time period would you visit if you could travel through time? So not like they're not going too deep is what I'm saying. Like, it's like, oh, I'd like to go to this time period. It's like, well, that would suck for you because of this. You know what I mean? Like, this is like, things are good. This is the highlight of that time period. What time period would you visit?
I think ancient Egypt.
Shit.
The building of the pyramids, figuring out. I think that was a very, very advanced society. I think I would not immediately get decapitated as some sort of witch demon.
Sure.
And I think I'd be able to observe.
If you walked in there with an iPhone, you would.
Oh, yeah. But I think they were evolved and educated enough to not immediately murder me, which would be pretty sick.
I would say 2003. I was peaking.
You were peaking.
You're going back in your own life.
So
I just want to go back and watch
2003,
myself
you've been
peak.
downhill for the last.
How
21 years?
old were you in 2003?
I was a senior in high school.
Of course you were. Yeah, that's glory
That's
days.
what we did.
Yeah, I would just go back
song.
and watch myself peak.
It's
It'd be a
Yeah, I
big
did not
ego
peak in
boost
high
for me.
school.
Reliving my glory days.
Physically reliving your glory days.
Yeah, I would.
so would you
go
be? Would you?
No,
be
I would
you?
go back and I would
you be
see this
then?
guy. No, I'd go back and see this guy and be like, "Holy shit, what a guy!" And then I would feel really damn good about myself now. 20 years
Cool.
later.
So you didn't peak then.
No, I did. Yeah.
So you go back. So all right, this is now
This is a
more
joke, by
complicated.
the way. I'm joking. I'm
So
joking.
you would go back and visit it, but you would see yourself and talk to yourself.
I was just joking.
Doesn't
That's fair.
that mess with
Valid.
the time space continuum?
From what I understand,
Yeah,
you
you
can't
see
touch
yourself.
you can't touch yourself.
Butterfly,
Like,
yeah.
not like in a weird way, but like you can't like
I know what you
you
mean.
can't like make contact. I had to rephrase it. You can't
Is that something? Is that something you thought about? Like,
No, not me.
if
No,
I
no,
could go
no.
back in time.
No, science fiction.
10 minutes ago in my own bathroom.
No, we're trying to talk like Time Cop. You got Back to the Future. You
Time
got,
Cop. Good
yeah.
one. Good reference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obscure
Terminator.
reference, but very good.
It's not that obscure if you're a G. Anyways, where would you go back? Yeah.
I've got a couple that came into mind.
You gotta pick one.
No, I'm going to tell you two.
All right.
One was the U.S. right after the Revolutionary War.
It seems like a tough time right there.
Just
right?
because, like how the country's first being born, founded, like we've just gone through this war to get our own independence, and like what people were thinking and the lives that we had back then.
So you're like part of like one of the founders of the country's families at that point. Like things are good for you.
Yeah. The other one, I would go back to Christ times, just to like actually see that stuff with my own eyes.
Ooh.
Instead of reading about it in a book, to actually go back 2,000 years and witness some of those things.
Yeah.
You would be murdered immediately.
You would?
Yeah. In those times.
Is he because he's a Christian?
No, because he's a time traveler from the future, and they were out there crucifying.
It's fair, but
if they didn't know,
again, let's go back to like Back to the Future 3, right? So like if you like get that whole like cowboy outfit and you're Clint Eastwood, like all he has to do is get like a towel or something, right?
And also never talk ever.
That's fair.
Yeah,
you don't know that language.
Well, I think that would add an interesting twist to it if you traveled back in time to a different culture.
The twist would be you'd be murdered immediately.
And you immediately were able
keep
to
going back to murder.
I know that in the RPG rockets in the car.
Yeah, there's a lot of death going on in his time traveling. Here.
I'm just being I picked the time specifically
life,
so I wouldn't be killed.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you're time traveling, you got to be real careful when you're time traveling. That you're picking a time that you can speak a language of where and when you're going to. Honestly, I do like, Jonathan, that you went back to 2003. In America, I think that this is a safe time travel.
Yeah,
it's not really climatic for anyone else.
So it's not like the movie
this.
Timeline.
No,
That was an early Paul Walker.
R.I.P. man.
R.I.P.
Rest in pieces.
No, man. Jesus Christ. Now who's morbid here?
Too soon.
That's good. Can I get cheers on that? Because that was incredible.
No. God, no. Fuck you guys. That's terrible. Jesus.
I'm Team Nate.
We're supposed to keep it light here. We're supposed to keep this like fun. And we keep going back to death.
75% of the people are laughing at that comment.
Yeah. And I feel like you guys need to talk to each other on a regular basis.
That's a great situation.
Time travel for me. If I could go back as myself now and experience something, this is something I could experience then as me now is, and then going back to the sports team thing, I would love to go back to that. And I'm not trying to get sentimental here, boys.
I think I know where you're going.
But I'd like to go back to like the 1985 Bears win the Super Bowl and being able to like my mom's still with us. My dad's not. But be able to like experience that family event as an adult, as just like, and just be that, like, again, I clearly speak the language, but it's like, be able to go in there and it's like, oh yeah, no, I just bought the house down the street type thing. You know what I mean? Like, thanks for inviting me. Just to see that would be so, this is not super, like big on the overall time spectrum, but for my personal life, that would be so fun to see how my parents and even like me as a kid, my brother, a couple years older, just see that side of it. Like, this is not like this deep thing where it's like, I want to see when electricity was like invented or also. This is like, I want to see this is
A core
building
memory.
off you, Jonathan. As I want to see like a really important event that I was too young to appreciate, and I'm just that guy in the background that it's like, oh yeah, that's yeah, Chet just moved in down the street, like, you know what I mean? Like we invited him a couple days ago. He moved in, so I'm like time travel back like a week before, and obviously carry, you know, like Doc Brown obviously told you have to carry currency back there with you so you can buy stuff. So there's a little planning that goes in, you know, with that. But
Jess wants to meet her great grandmother.
of course, yeah, you want to, you know, meet that.
I would like to meet. I had a great uncle, my grandmother's brother, and he grew up in Key West, Florida.
Oh.
And he had a bait and tackle shop
Bobby's is a decent one.
/ pool hall / cigar lounge.
No kidding.
And this was, you know, in the 50s in Key West. That would have been fun to go back and hang out with this dude. And my whole family, everyone that's met him is like, you guys are the same person.
No, yeah, I can see that, because if things were going well for you, I'd absolutely love the early 60s before Kennedy was assassinated, when things were going well, like Rat Pack days, you know what I mean? I'd love that. Before the Great Depression, like when things are going well, it's just a full-blown all is well type of a thing, you know what I mean? I could see that though, like when you talk about that person in your family that was doing really well and doing what they wanted to do, and people say you're a spitting image of that, that's a lot of fun to think about.
Yeah, I would like to think we would get into a bar fight late.
I feel like we're saying the same thing, but kind of not.
Yeah, sure.
All right, what fictional world would you live in if you could?
What fictional world?
For example, Star Wars or Harry Potter.
Well, and then he also added Super Mario, and then Sean Anderson added Middle Earth from Lord of the Rings.
Definitely wouldn't be Middle Earth or Star Wars.
I think I'd pick Harry Potter between those four.
Yeah, because that's.
I think it would be that P ... thing that you were talking about earlier.
What was that there, Jonathan?
It was stupid, is what it was.
Justin, how about you? What fictional world would you live in? Jared, I'm sorry. Justin keeps popping up on the feed. I'm sorry.
Been my entire life, to be fair. So
you did not get that your entire life.
Justin Trudeau. As soon as he became the Prime Minister of Canada, my last name's Trudeau.
You know,
I'm so sorry for
so what fictional world would I live in? Not Canada right now.
Yeah. Canada is a fictional.
Jared, I will always apologize to you when I see you.
Yeah, it's rough. There's no way to live.
But as Prime Minister of Canada, what would
the United States? That's Prime Minister of Canada.
That's fair.
Yeah, that guy ruined my life too, Sean. That's no.
Gosh.
Maybe Harry Potter would be better.
Yeah.
Maybe Harry Potter.
Are you a wizard in this world?
No. I could be a regular kind of guy, I suppose.
Kind of hanging out. You
just chilling, not even knowing about the wizards. It's like literally not different than my life right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Going deep there.
It's a really boring answer, honestly.
Why do I want to do witchcraft and wizardry? You seen those movies?
I've seen some of them.
Constantly fighting some sort of horrible, nefarious evil. I have a cigar lounge in my house. I have tons of wine and bourbon.
I want to live in your fictional world. That
way
yours is a non-fictional thing. James Bond. I'm James Bond on that one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
As in, you want to be James Bond?
In that fictional world, I would choose James Bond. Absolutely. I'm not going.
But what if you work at Burger King in James Bond or something?
No, I feel like Steve.
So you're in the world.
You get to pick what you do?
You're in the world, but what do you get to pick in the world that you're moving to?
Interesting.
I think Steve.
You're in the James Bond world, but what are you?
Safe bet. I'm
number 7.
Like I'm the one that's like calling out the orders, right? But I mean, we all want to be, you know,
Bond.
As guys, you want to be Bond. I'm like, I would love to be like the Daniel Craig Bond. That's just what I want to be. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I would like to be Princess Snowflake. But, you know,
yeah, you'd be Moneypenny, and that's fine.
I think you'd be henchman number 3.
Well, that's at least I'm not number 1 because number 1 gets killed first.
Well, no, I said you were number 2. You are the villain's main guy.
I don't like the way that you guys are like pegging me.
I think
Villain.
Nate's
Because
right.
your build.
Yeah, like the
You're
villain.
the big
villain shoots
brawny,
someone and then just
scary
hands
guy,
you your
like,
gun.
Daniel
Like,
Craig was built.
kind of like Jaws. Like
I am not that tall.
You're a villain's top assistant.
I'm a villain.
You're the top assistant of the villain. You're like the
Oh, so
number
I don't
2
get
guy
killed,
of
but
the villain.
my boss
to
does.
the regional
I'm the one who
manager.
like gets out. I turn and I like say, "This is the key you need to take." I don't know what we're doing here. Like,
I think
if
you're
you were an
the-
Avenger, which Avenger would you be?
that's a good question there.
You're Thor.
Ah, Jesus. Which Avenger would you guys be?
I'll be that one.
Storm.
I'd be Hawkeye.
I'm Storm.
That's X-Men. That's X-Men.
Did you say Storm?
I don't know anything about those.
Wrong
things.
timeline.
Yeah, I don't know anything about
This is derailing so much.
I know. Thanks, Bobby.
Oh my god.
All right, what's the next question?
I don't even know anymore.
3.
Let's pick a. I'm gonna go to a different category. Well, let me see what the 3 is. No.
No.
This is a good interview question. This is coming from a list that are deep conversation starters.
Oh boy.
We're going to take it to another level here. We're going. Nope. That's not it. Super Mario. That's not a question. Where do you want to be in 10 years?
In my own house.
So own a house.
Own a house. No longer renting.
I feel like if you say just in my own house, like in general, like
Okay.
as opposed to
That was my answer.
Fair.
Yeah, but I do own a house, and I would like to also be inside of my house
in Nate's house.
or Nate's house. It might be nice. That's
It
fine.
sounds like what kind of house are you gonna get?
Well, I mean, all the houses Jess has been looking at. I mean, you got a little bit of acreage. You got some chickens, some cows.
I don't want to be in that house. I prefer mine.
The
Change
chicken
his
and
answer.
cows
Change
aren't in the house.
Oh,
Nobody changed his answer. That's fair game, right? Like if you're having an open conversation.
yeah, that was a deal breaker. The animals inside the house. My house would have them all outside, probably.
How many chickens do you have?
None. I don't have any.
Okay, 0 versus a handful.
I have no idea how many Jess wants.
So you want to be a house with Jess?
Yeah.
Your wife.
I would like to be in a house with my wife, and like I feel like I'd love to be in the same position career wise. Like I would love like it's a growing position, and so honestly would be very happy 10 years later. I'm near where I am with my wife in a house in Fort Worth, Texas, near my friend Jared, so I can come visit him and come out to the Bourbon and BS Cigar Festival every other year.
Smoking 10 event, yes.
Smoke a tenement.
Smoking 10 event.
You idiot.
Are you talking about a different event or what are we talking
No,
about?
same event.
That is the name of it. Yes, I agree. And
You do
again,
that for a long time, right?
we have, yeah, absolutely.
Like it long enough to where Jonathan should know the name of it. You think?
He actually came to the event when he wasn't in the position to be invited as a vendor, but he
Was he
Made the
physically
trip
been there and just don't know the name of it? Just,
I was there when I was a vendor.
you guys don't talk
too.
that much, I assume.
yeah, we talked.
No, he had a really good.
Occasionally.
He had a really good time that day.
You were sick the day I drove you back to the hotel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awkward for not me.
That's good. I would like to be in Maui. That's where I'd like to be. My wife and I love Maui, and we try to go
Maui?
as much as we can. Yeah.
What,
And
so let me ask you this. What is the, obviously you got the tropical side of it, right? You know what I mean? But do you want to live in Hawaii, or do you want to like
I think
visit
we
big
would both
area?
like to. My wife is in the we'd like to live there. My wife's in the medical industry, and she's able to practice, have her own practice in certain states, and I think Hawaii is one of those states that she'd be able to have her own practice. She's a mental health nurse practitioner, and so we'd be able to go and have our own practice, and then I could just, I don't know, do whatever.
There's cigar shops out there, right?
No, it is the most anti-tobacco place in the whole world.
In Maui?
In all of Hawaii. It's crazy. Yeah.
All Hawaii.
Yeah,
So,
no indoor smoking. The cigar distribution is handled by the state like liquor distribution agency. So there's really no like independent selling or any. It's pretty crazy.
In all my years working in the cigar industry, I never knew that about Hawaii.
Oh, it's really unfriendly to cigars. You can't smoke on like the patios or anything anymore. Even hotels, you have like a little gazebo thing.
It makes sense to a point because of the politics, right? You know what I mean? Like that was the whole thing last several years is I'm not going to get into it, but there was a lot of political movements to go against things like cigar smoking and smoking in general. Is it Tatawahe that has that, or Crowned Heads? Who has the Hawaii blend?
Crown Heads. It's
Crowned Heads, yeah.
Because you have the Tennessee Waltz, you have the Yellow Rose, you had the Buckeye Land, and then there was one that they did for Hawaii. And normally you have to live in one of those states in order to be able to order them. And then one day a year they have Outlaw Day where you can order the other ones. But no one in the continental U.S. can get the one that's in Hawaii.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
But you want to go to Hawaii in 10 years. Do you want to have like you saved your nut that you can do that, or you want to like actually like work out there?
No, I'd like to just be kind of
Done.
And just go out there, maybe buy a, 30 room kind of beach hotel kind of thing, and boutique-y, and just kind of walk around, do maintenance, fix up the rooms, do it myself, stuff like that. That's what I'd probably like to do.
It's nice. 10 years for me, I like the path I'm on. Had some ups and downs over the years, but I like the path I'm on where we're doing things like this. There are a lot of times where you talk to people. We've had these episodes, and especially part 2, right? So they're waiting for next week or next year or whatever it is to do stuff. And where do you want to be in 10 years? The person that asked that is, it's a job interview, is where do you see yourself in 5 years type thing. And we all had that not we all did, but I had that conversation in job interviews when I was fucking like 21, 22 years old, right? When you ask that question to someone that is that age, it's a loaded question because you're looking for an answer. Because going back now I'm 43, I would never ask that 21-year-old that question, because I know, unless you're qualifying, I get the point that you're qualifying. Let me see how, cockstrong this person is. How ego driven is that person? But
I lost out on a job because of that question.
Yeah, I know that you might have your goals, but you also are trying to please me as an interviewer. And it's like, this is bullshit. Because the one thing you want to say most of the time, where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years as a job interview, is I want your job.
Yeah.
But you can't say that. Like, it's faux pas, right? So in general, as you get older, is where do you see yourself in 10 years? Take the job out of it. Is I want to be happy. I want the people to be that are around me to be happy. I want to not make mistakes. I want to learn from my mistakes. These are all general things. but there's no way that you can predict where you're going to be in 10 years, in my opinion, because you try that, you'll either be let down or you didn't set your goal high enough. So you got to take that scale back. Where do you want to be in 10 years? Independently wealthy, and I have no responsibilities, and I have the girl of my dreams. And if you want kids, you don't want kids. Like, I want to have a beach house. I want to live in Maui. I want to do all that stuff. It's like, yeah, that'd be great. So what do you want to do to get there? I have no idea.
Yeah. What's cool is asking somebody like if you ask somebody in their 20s, it's always work. But asking all of us now,
yeah,
like, we're all like, right? Kind of like at home, like kind of chilling with my wife, like, like that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
how if you asked
best.
Me that a million years ago, it would be like,
well, and to that, like, you had joked when I mentioned about having, chickens and cows. I know for a fact that if my wife and I had a property and we were raising cattle to slaughter and doing that made the amount of money that the two of us make right now, oh yeah, we're taking that in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
sure. Like, she would absolutely take that lifestyle in a heartbeat with no second to think about it. She's like, yep, I'll take that right now.
Yeah,
because that's the kind of person she is. And like, she when she was in undergrad, she literally wrote a project essay on how to be able to do that. And she's had friends that have been able to do that as their career. And, obviously there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's not an easy thing, but it's one of those things where it's like, no, yeah, it's hard work, but man, the payoff's nice. And I'm not talking about, when I say payoff, I don't just mean financially, the money.
Lottery, man.
you just want to win the lottery and be like, I'm done. I'm not going to do shit for the next 40 years. I'm just going to buy whatever car I want.
100%.
I don't know that any of the four of us would be happy doing nothing.
What's that?
I don't think any of the four of us would be happy doing nothing.
No. I didn't say doing
no.
nothing.
I would love to have the financial independence to do whatever I want, though.
But I think all of us would have a purpose and something we get behind. I think.
Sadly, I'd be doing this podcast with whoever wants to do it with me, and have better production value, maybe a private jet. Like, there's a lot of things going on right now.
That would have been a lot easier if we could have flown in a private jet for the podcast.
Like, we want to have Jonathan Herring on the podcast. Let's send the private jet to him and fly him into Columbus.
Well, you guys offered that, but I didn't want to be that guy.
Patreon.com/Bourbon podcast or Venmo at Bourbon and BS.
Hey, Jared, cool enough. They're also doing like
stream.
OnlyFans style stuff. You can pay them like $20 to like do the podcast backward.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, they're offering like payouts to do weird things on the podcast.
I can't wait. Jonathan, I think, is going to like start posting stuff on the Bourbon BS.
Oh yeah.
Page. Like, who wants to spend $20 at Venmo?
No, dude, I can like crowdfund some fun things.
Yeah.
I will.
I want Steve wearing a wig.
If it goes to the podcast, I'll sit on that side of the table and look that direction.
Nate Hale wearing a like a hat or something. You know what I mean? Like, just have something on you.
Like a silly Nashville girl.
I like that. Nashville, yeah.
Well, I remember when I used to have, I remember there was one year for Halloween, I dressed up as the before picture of Steve, where I was wearing the sweater and I had the curly blonde hair.
Yeah, no, I remember.
And because I'm a little fatter than Steve is, like, it was the before and after.
I didn't notice.
You didn't. Got hashtag Team Nate.
You could once a year do an episode where you auction off an opportunity to do dumb shit, like pick someone's outfit for a night, do the podcast backwards, and then they can use their shit, and then you can use that one thing to fund, like, for example, at the Smoking Tent event.
But I would love to see Steve in an Elvis wig. I don't know why, really, but
because you've never known Steve with hair.
Yeah, that strikes my fancy.
All right, pick a number. Pick a number. We're rolling here. 1 through 20.
I gotta wear the damn vagina hats.
Where do you guys have to go?
Number. What number? You pick a number. I picked the last.
No, I already picked a number.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
What did you pick?
Yeah, another one, 17.
All right.
Damn.
We haven't done that
Oof.
one. You know it's going to be good when Steve goes, oof.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good.
Good. Sean Anderson, that doesn't surprise me. He wants to have
Is it in
1,000
Braille or something?
minefield
He's going
surrounding
around for it down there. Oh no, he's right.
It's going up. It's going up.
I understood. I'm like, was it in Braille? Why are you feeling around?
It's a touchscreen. God damn it! Are you serious? What year is this?
Braille.
Braille. Yes. Yes.
Oh, that reminds me of
When are you happiest? That's a good one, actually.
I'll go first. I'm
Go ahead.
sitting at
Cool.
brunch. I'm sitting at brunch with my lady, having some oysters and champagne, and we're just hanging at a cool local area.
champagne.
I love that. I love it. I love just going out for brunch, and just like it's a Sunday morning, Saturday morning. The weekend's still there. And it's a great time.
What's great about it?
You're drinking a little earlier than you should be. You know, there's a little bit of edge to it. You know, you're just having a little champagne at 11 a.m., having some oysters. You're committing a little sin. You know, it's fun. It's fun. Scandalous. Yeah. You're sitting there
Jonathan, imagine having a job where drinking on the job is in your job description.
Yeah,
brother, I've had that job for 10 years.
Yeah.
they both have that job.
Yeah.
I remember my first cigar
I have
event.
that.
Can you drink on your way to work? Because I always drink on the plane when I'm flying in.
Well,
my-
the plane's a little bit different. You're not
my first
technically
cigar-
traveling.
I love a little traveling.
My
Love it.
first cigar event, I asked my boss, "Can I have a drink?" And he goes, "It's highly preferred." And I was like, "Okay, I'm in the right industry." I think we're on an industry where we can have a drink on the job.
Justin, how about you?
You can. Mine's literally in my job description.
That's true. That's true.
When are you happiest? When are you the happiest? I gotta put
You're
that.
totally alone.
That could be it.
What is it?
I'm pretty happy when I'm alone.
When you're what?
Alone. But for me, I don't know. I'm pretty happy. Like my wife and I, we like to travel a lot together.
It's good.
And
Good
one of the
compliment to that
places we've been
conversation.
able to go recently is the Dominican Republic, but not Punta Cana, Puerto Plata. We went to Samana on the North Coast, which is rural and difficult to get to and not a touristy place at all. And the humpback whales were migrating. And so we opened our Airbnb doors and we were with our family friend, like our friends that live in the Dominican Republic who stayed with us in the Airbnb. And their family has been there for like 200 years. And it was just like an unbelievable trip. Like,
But you have those
local-
connections, right? Right?
Yeah,
With the industry and what you've done with Christoph and otherwise. Like you have those connections at DR, yeah.
yeah, this was like one of those things where it's like I couldn't have, if I wanted to purchase a trip like this, I couldn't have done it.
You wouldn't
was
have
like
a
one of
tour guide like that, right? You would not have like
It
you could
doesn't
have like,
exist.
hey, I found this Airbnb in this part of the Dominican Republic, and you're like, yeah, cool, let's go there. And you're like,
Yeah, it's
I'm
4.5
scared
hours
right
on busted roads and dirt roads.
Yeah.
Like it's, yeah,
But
but
you have connections there. That's great.
it was awesome. And so us sitting there, opening the balcony in the morning, seeing whales breaching and shit. Like, I mean, it was just incredible. And it was like one of the nicest trips that we've ever been on. And I think I was really, really happy there. Relaxing, nothing to do, not expensive, you know, nice.
Love that. Nate, how about you?
So one for me, like, when are you happiest? One example would be yesterday when I was at work. And I'll tell you why. I had a customer come in and she went and she picked out a bottle. And I was at the register. She was back in the corner of the room with my boss. She comes up to the register. I'm ringing her out. And she's buying a $300 bottle of wine. And I was like, oh, this is a really nice bottle. And she's like, yeah, me and my husband came in a few weeks ago and you helped us pick out a bottle. And this is the bottle that you recommended.
Oh.
And we absolutely loved it. And I wanted to come back and get another one. Like that, hearing her say that out loud made me so happy because it meant that I was doing my job and I did it well.
You should definitely say that in the job.
To the point where someone came back to do it again. Like $300 on a bottle of wine or a bottle of whiskey, whatever, $300 on a perishable item. Like that's a lot of money to throw down. That 300 bottle of wine is going to go down in a night. But it was something that they really enjoyed. So I was able to bring a sense of happiness to another person that in turn made me happy.
That's nice.
And it's also funny. Like I think of that question. I remember a few years ago, like after the whole pandemic thing had started and Jess was looking at doing a vacation because COVID happened. And then shortly after my stepfather passed away, and she wanted to do a vacation, just kind of take me out of things and be away from things for a little while. She was looking at like going out west, very remote, rural parts of the country. And I was like, I don't know. I'd rather go to like Miami and hang out at cigar shops and where it's warm and there's shit to do. But honestly, in the last 4 years, I'm like, you know what? Wyoming's not that bad.
Hey, you're coming around, dude. You're literally coming around podcast by podcast, Wyoming.
I'll be there.
We'll do it remotely.
I'll be in Gillette, Wyoming in 3 weeks, and Helena, Montana. I got events out there.
Ooh. That's out there.
Yeah.
All right, Steve.
When am I the happiest? As much as I can be. I've gotten to the point in my life where I still struggle, right? Like we all do, right? You think you're happy, you think what makes you happy is going to make you happy, and at the moment, I am actually. It's appreciation. Yeah. I, like a lot of people, used to like strive for what's going to make me happy. And I made a decision a while back that I am going to just commit myself to my life to be, say happy, but it's just content. It's I like this life. Liking your life is different than in striving to be happy. Liking my life, liking my day-to-day is so much bigger than what's going to make you happy. What's that?
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Liking your day-to-day is the ultimate form of that.
I just enjoying it.
Yeah.
And enjoying the people that are around you and filtering out the people that, even the people that it's not ill will, that they're not trying to like, they want to make you happy because of they have their own lives. Right. So it's a realization of enjoying your day to day and the people around you. I made a choice, and it was a very tough choice, but it paid off to the point where I'm at right now, that we're still doing the podcast. We're still doing what we're doing. We're still talking to the friends that we have in our lives, that there's no cutoff. There's no if I'm not getting enjoyment out of our relationship, I'm going to like tell you about it. It's just like, I'm going to do what's important to me. And realizing what brings me happiness. So this question is, when are you the happiest? Is man, there was a time when I woke up in the morning and I was not sure what the day was going to bring. I didn't know how I felt about waking up and doing that. And it got to the point now where I'm like, it's a good day. I know it's easy to say, and people that are in different situations, they don't have that, but it's just like, I wake up and it sounds so silly, right? In the bed, I got my dog in the bed. Tony's in the bed and Kristen's next to me. And it's like all these things as I reflect back on the decisions that I made.
Yeah.
I adopted Tony, my dog, when I was single, and I met Kristen and she had shit going on. And I met her through a random meetup of just me going out and doing me on that day. And I met her friends and I met her and all that stuff.
You have to watch the Bears game.
Yeah, the biggest thing was that when am I the happiest? When I really reflected on what makes me happy. And I now when things are good, I actually reflect back to those times when I wasn't happy, but I was like, I got to commit myself to do this. Now all of a sudden it's like I've been married before, I've done this stuff, and I look at this and I got a great dog, I got a great girl, and she said yes when I proposed to her. I gotta keep living for myself. That's when I'm the happiest. When I actually put this on my responsibility to do this. That if my dog's upset, if my friends are upset, if my fiance is upset, I'm not going to give in completely. I got to play a role in this because all those factors that I appreciate, they appreciated me for who I was. And that's where I'm at right now, is that going forward is that I'm going to absolutely continue to remind myself of who I want to be and why all of these things are important to me. Way deeper than the question.
Steve, I loved it, dude.
Did you?
Some of the comments were incredible, though. If you don't mind, if I read a couple of them. If it's not the hour and a half you and your lady spend alone in your room, then I'm not sure you're in the right place any longer. Justin Turner said, the Buffalo Trace is hitting tonight, boys.
Let me find this Sean Anderson one.
Sean really hit it. Sean really hit it on the head. And we're not going to say that, obviously. But thank you, Sean, for saying it.
There you go.
Full mental breakdown.
That's my boy, Sean.
Say it again.
That's my boy. We used to be in a cigar shop together before I was in the industry. He wasn't in the industry. He taught me how to smoke cigars. He taught me how to play spades at a high level. We played some bones together, but I never got into that with him because he was too good. But spades, I could hang a little bit. But Sean and I go way back. I mean,
in Athens?
Yeah.
Cool.
He was at 5 Point Cigar Shop. Yeah.
That's a great shop.
And Sean was probably there when your event was there. And Sean's that guy. When I went through my first divorce, I went to his house one night and he was grilling out and having drinks, and slept on his couch. And he was just that kind of friend. That was like, you can go get drunk at my house, sleep on the couch, and you're good. And Sean's one of the best dudes in the world. Always appreciate that guy.
Good friend of the podcast.
Yeah.
Good friend of mine. He can also golf like a motherfucker back in the day.
He'll tell you he's bad at everything, and then he does good at everything.
I know, he tells you he's better than you at everything, and then he still is better than you at everything. And it's very annoying. Because like you want him to be like you want him to be like 1 for 3, but he's 3 for 3.
All right, so let me ask you guys that you guys are going through your stuff in the cigar
Right.
industry.
Okay.
All right, calm down there. What's the biggest thing that brings you happiness?
At work?
No, in life. Did I lose you?
We did it.
We answered it.
We answered that already.
Mine was brunch with my wife. His was
Traveling.
traveling with his wife.
Traveling's your biggest thing.
So for me, mine is just a
Is this
brunch with my
different
wife
than the
on a
one you
Sunday
just
morning.
posted about when are you happiest?
Yeah.
We've already answered that.
No, I'm just saying, like, okay.
Well, that's what they were saying. Like they didn't understand.
Okay.
Is this different than the question that we just answered?
Yeah, I understand. I just, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Going into this podcast, we tried to keep it light.
Yeah.
On an everyday situation, I think that sometimes we get caught up in everyday life.
Yeah.
And the job, traveling to the work. I think sometimes communication is lost.
It's totally lost.
I think that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not about being your happiest, but how do you get to that happiness?
I think like Jared and I are both on the road all the time, and like trying to manage that with a spouse at home and trying to keep all the fires burning at one end, like the work fire burning and the home fire burning, and you're traveling all the time. I mean, I don't think we live like a traditional life nowadays because most people are home every day. But I think we live a traditional life of like 300 years ago when people would like hunt together and be gone for a week. Like, I don't think it's that bad for a relationship.
No, and if you have the right partner, it makes a difference. Like somebody who can be, it's very important to not rely on another person for your happiness. You have to be happy by as your own person before somebody else can make you happy, or you can make somebody else happy. And
Justin, how often are you communicating though?
I mean, often.
All the time?
Yeah. My wife and I have difficult schedules. She works overnights. I work days and travel and stuff. And what is true is when we're both off, when I'm home and she has a day off, that's what I'm doing. It's sacred. It's sacred. I'm not seeing anybody. I'm not leaving the house. I'm not doing anything. It's me. And I don't care if it's a Tuesday and a Wednesday. If somebody calls me, I'll take the phone call, whatever. But our time together is sacred.
I think that's the key about like a traveler person. Like, you only get so many days together, and they become more special because those are the only days you have.
Yeah.
If you're together, Sunday through Sunday every day, and you're what's for dinner, what are we doing every night? I think there is something special about having just those couple of days, and you have that, and you can zone in on it, and you can really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I like that. A lot of effort there.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's
what a relationship is.
That's what a relationship is.
And as soon as the effort stops, it starts declining. And if the effort's not there, there's a declining process. You're either going forwards or backwards.
Yeah.
And I think all four of us have been in situations where we've gotten settled and it slowly starts sliding backwards. You don't even realize it's sliding backwards. if you're not putting in effort, if you're not going forward, you're going backwards.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes has always been, "Who you are sometimes is who you are all the time."
Oh,
And
that's good.
and it's,
Not always the case, but I like that.
I think, like with my salespeople, with my staff, with myself, if sometimes you skip that shop because the guy's kind of an asshole and he hasn't really done that much for you, and sometimes you do it, then that's who you are. That's who you are as a salesperson. You're the kind of guy that drives past somebody that probably needs to see him more than anybody else, that you're going to see that.
Yeah.
I really think so. Like
And that's
relationships,
relationships.
and
as
that's
well.
relationships. Who you are
Yeah.
sometimes is who you are all the time. You have to, every day, you have to show up the way that you need to be showing up, and you can't let it slip. Yeah.
Because there's an initial surge,
Yeah.
that you can just ride on for what, 3-4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, in a relationship, and you stop.
That's the first date, man. You got to put yourself out there, right? You're trying to present yourself as the best you.
Yeah.
Just like in an interview.
In an interview, on a first date, on a first sales call, all this stuff. Just be yourself, man.
Yeah.
And strive to be that person all the time. Like, they like you. People buy from people they like. In sales and also in life.
Yeah. You have to
Like,
sell yourself.
you have to, if you get that girl and you're not that person, you fucked up, man.
Yeah, you got found out. You're gonna get found out.
You got
quick.
found out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're a salesperson, you like, well, yeah, we're gonna do all this stuff and all this stuff. They're trying to, you got found out.
Yep. Right away.
Be consistent.
Yeah.
All right, closing remarks. What do you got, Nate?
To kind of branch off of this, what we've talked about the last couple of questions, to combine them, I think you have to find what makes you happy, and then what steps you need to do to get there on a consistent basis. Because I think there are some people that will get content with doing something that makes them happy and then letting that high ride for a while. And then they get to a low and they're like, all right, when was I happiest? Okay, that was a few months ago, a year ago, a couple years ago. Okay, what do I do to get back there? And they keep doing this whole roller coaster.
Yeah, up and down, up and down.
Up and down, which, like, in a job or in a relationship, can really take a toll on both sides. It's about finding, like, where's the high, and then how do you maintain that? Like, what makes you happy? Great. How do you keep that? Don't just sit there and wait till you're depressed to sit there and go, man, I was happier when I was doing this. Okay, now I'm going to go back to that. Cool. Now you got back to that, and then you just coasted, and then all of a sudden you fell back down. Like, oh shit, I need to do this all over again. I think it's a lot easier to maintain that happiness than it is to get back to there from a deep spot.
Like that.
Yeah. I like that too.
What you guys?
No, I had no fucking clue I was going to be on the show tonight. I'm thankful to spend some time with you guys and see you again. It's been a long time, and I am appreciative of your friendship with Jonathan and the support that you show him, and I'm just happy to be.
I mean, I would say from what we talked about tonight, like, I think like Steve getting into a new relationship, as a new fiance. Like, I think something we mentioned earlier is like it's very easy to coast and enjoy. It's very easy to enjoy the high times, but during the high times is when you got to start putting in work for the low times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Steve, you'll do it because that's the kind of person you are. And I think putting in the work, especially, think about you're up, 40% this month in cigar sales, and you're a rep on the road. Like, you don't fucking coast. You start banking in next month.
Yeah.
And you start, you start planting seeds
It
for the next
snowballs
month.
and everything gets easier.
But it's relationships as well. It's relationships as well. During the high times, you can't coast. You can't just enjoy that we're on a high time. You got to be putting in the seeds and planning what's coming, 2-3 months down the road. And I think that's important for all of us in work and personal life. And
well, let me ask you, based on that, do you think it's more work to build yourself up from a low to a high, or to be at a high and maintain? Which is more work?
Building yourself from low to high. Sales, I always tell reps and stuff, sales beget sales. When you're on the road and you walk into the first store and they place a good order, it turns out every store you walk into that day, you're going to write a good order with. It just feels that way. And I have no idea why. You probably wouldn't have done anything different. Yeah. But sales beget sales, highs beget highs, and it's easier, I think, to stay on the high.
I think when you're in the high, people often forget that you have to keep putting in the work to stay there.
Right. Yeah.
It's true. It's work either way. It's definitely work either way, either from a low point or a high point. It's work to get there or stay there. They're both work. But Justin, I think you or Jared, you nailed it on the head there, because I know I used to do door-to-door sales, and one of the things they used to tell us was the biggest hurdle you'll come to each day is getting that first yes.
Yep.
Because then you knock on a bunch of doors, get a bunch of no's, you're at a low point. You get that first yes that brings you up. It kind of builds a little bit of confidence because you got that first one behind you. When we had to hit a certain number of sales each week, and if you could hit that number on Tuesday, man, Wednesday through Friday, that seemed like the easiest part of the week because you'd already hit your goals. Now you're just going out there to get more. But if all of a sudden you come around and you're going out into the field on Friday and you still haven't hit the number you need to, you're stressing about it. You're worried about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes that might lead you to, do things without a sense of integrity to try and get that sale. But you definitely feel, I think, when you're trying to get to that high, I think you feel more pressure to get there because that's where you're supposed to be. That's the expectation. I think it's easier to move forward without that added pressure on you. So if you can get to that point, I think it's easier to maintain than to just keep riding that roller coaster. And I think that's one of the tough things with sales, whether it be a sales that, you've reset every week or you reset every month, or they're always looking at, this month last year. It's something may have happened that last period, whether it be the territory you were in or
the sales is all about planting seeds, man.
Yeah. And so, and that's why, I think when you're at that high, I think it's a lot easier to just keep maintaining that because you're there already. It's easy to walk across a ladder.
They both have their challenges. Steven?
Yes, sir.
What's your closing remark?
I like what you guys said. I was overhearing it from the outhouse. It's always effort. Man, I know this from a job standpoint, relationship standpoint, friendship standpoint. When you're not good, you're struggling. That's when you realize what you need to do to make yourself better. I hate to bring that up, but it's like one of those things where it's when you're knocked down and you're on your back, do you get yourself up just to get back into it, right? That hunger back to getting to making your life better. You didn't give up. you live your life as an example for others that are important to you. It's so inspiring to those that see you struggling, right? You know, the struggle is so real, and it's so relatable because the people that you respect, they've been through it, right? But you want the outcome. You want all of that stuff. And when you talk to people that you look up to, they have the life in your mind that you want. They still have the struggles, but to get to that point, there's an effort. There are people, and we are those people that would love to have the happy ending, and the happy ending is after a lot of struggles, a lot of effort. And I think that the one thing that you know, you guys, that I've learned from it, where I'm at right now in my life, is I will never again rest on my laurels that I've gotten to the point that I thought I needed to be, because if I do that,
Yeah.
I lose focus on what got me to that point in their mind. People that are important to me, their mind. But more importantly is, if you show me someone that is comfortable in their life,
Yeah.
they're already losing ground.
Yeah. You're 100% right. And like, I think that's something as men we need to remind each other of more often.
Yeah.
It's like when I'm hanging out with a buddy and they're telling me like everything's good, life is good, I'm enjoying it, it's all great. It's like, dude, maybe you should say, are you too comfortable right now?
Yeah.
Like, what can you be doing to get to that next level? What can you be doing in job or relationship? Like, what can you be doing? Everything's good right now, but what can you be doing for the next, what you want to?
So in the job, I'll say this first. In the job, when you slip up, if you're a hungry person, you want to do well, you want to make your boss happy, you want to make the company happy. If you're a business owner, you want to make sure your customers are happy. You rest on your laurels, and then you hear that complaint. It's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you're in a relationship, man, if you have any sense of yourself, if you're not coasting, this is not an intentional thing, right? But when things are going well, when do you work on yourself? You work on yourself the most when things are bad, right? So when things are going well, you don't work on yourself as much. But when things are going well, if you keep that mentality of the sense that if you're working on yourself the best you can to progress yourself in your career, if you got that girl, if you are that person that you wanted to be, as soon as you let up on the gas,
Because you slam the gas to get her.
you do. And as soon as you let up on the gas, the car
slam the
starts
gas to get the job.
The back end starts to swerve out, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you blame the car, you blame the condition, you blame all this stuff. I look at this as that we have to, as men, as people, women, same way, is we all want something. And what gets you to the point where you feel like you've gotten to the point where you got what you wanted, you mash the gas even more. Now you know you're in your lane. Now you know you want this. Now you know what makes you happy. I did all this because I know this is what I wanted. And you can take a couple of curves, right? Because life changes, but man, you gotta do what you want to do. You guys in your cigar industry, what you're at in your positions. Anyone listening out here tonight, or when we post this audio, this is one of those things, is that you hear these people. If you're passionate in the cigar industry, you hear from people that are succeeding in the cigar industry, and you guys are still, I don't know if you know this or not, you guys are still rock stars. And people may or may not know who you are, but you come to an event, you guys talked about blends, you talk about who you know, you talk about what you've done. This is what it is. They love that. You are passionate about life. We have to remind people that they're passionate about life, because a lot of times that's where it comes down to it, is that they take the foot off the gas, they move that right foot over to the brake pedal, just for safety. And I look at this and I'm like, you got to keep that foot over the gas. It's not careless. It's not anything like that.
Sometimes it pays to be aggressive more than defensive.
The best defense is sometimes the offense. But
that's a good point.
Relationships, the job, and everything else. As soon as you think that you should acknowledge me for what I've done for this company. You should acknowledge me what I've done for this relationship. You're now looking in the past. Your foot is off the gas.
Yeah.
Man.
You're eventually going to come to a stop.
Guys, my wife just got home. She's been gone for 4 days. I'm going to help her unload the car. But wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I hope you guys appreciate that.
Great to see you guys. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm going to continue to stay out here with you guys. Sorry. Steve, I thought that was a great point.
No, I'm not looking for validation. I appreciate that.
I'm just saying
this is what I've learned
in my
life.
Either on the gas or on the brake, and you're either going forward or going backwards. And if you feel like you're really settled in your situation, you should probably think about that.
Well, I got to be honest right now, is that, something my fiance said to me is that she has friends, right? And they're married and have kids and all this stuff. It's nothing in jeopardy, right? But when they say to her, they stop saying this to me. They stop complimenting me. And when I ask her, I says, are they complimenting them? This is a reciprocating thing. Is we have to remember sometimes, whether it be a job or a relationship, even a committed, most importantly, a committed relationship, keep the compliments flowing, man. Keep the positivity flowing. You got to tell the other party that we're in it, man. We're going. We're loving this life. Let's go. I love the fact that I can tell Kristen that she looks good. I love the fact that I can tell Kristen that she is doing great in her job. Sometimes I say something that she's like, well, I didn't want to hear that because I just wanted to vent to you. I'm like, okay, but you're still doing great. And I get dig myself deeper in a hole when I'm telling her that you're doing the best you can. And sometimes she's like, well, I wanted you to tell me that I made a mistake. It's rare, but I still want that. You got to have that hunger. You got to have that. You know what I mean? Because what do we always hear? When you're in a job, it's a dead end job because you can't, like, well, I would have said this. It's like, fucking say it. Get after it. Because that's what they want. Whether or not they want to hear it, I'm not saying call people out. I'm saying you got to, like, really, really be genuine with the people that you care about, whether it be personal or professional. If you don't communicate,
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna change.
No.
But I gotta tell you, if you like something that's going on, you like the direction that the relationship is going in, you like the relationship that the professional side of things are going through, compliment.
Yeah.
All the compliments.
My mantra
Let's
is
go.
my mantra is think something nice, say something nice. And so when I think something nice about someone, unless it's a woman that I shouldn't be commenting on, I say something nice.
What do we always hear? If you have nothing to say nice, don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
The other side of that is if you have something nice to say,
Say it.
say it.
Unless it's
That's
about
the
a
other
woman.
side that no one ever says. I feel super lucky that I'm in the situation I am right now. It was not always the case. You guys know me. It was not always the case.
Yeah.
And the biggest lesson I learned over the last 40 plus years is I am going to express the positivity.
Yeah. There's no reason not to.
People are afraid to say it, man.
Yeah, man. But think something nice, say something nice. Put that in your head. Put that in everyone's head. And
Yes.
then if we start saying nice things to each other, we all build each other up. It's a beautiful thing.
It's like getting a t-shirt that says hashtag Team Nate. I mean, it's positivity for someone that really needs some positive reinforcement. Fucking with you right now.
I was like, wait a minute.
No, but I love you guys. I love Nate. I love Steve. Thank you guys for a great podcast.
Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for letting me be here.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Love you guys.